All right, I'd like to call the February 12th, 2019 Macon County Board of Commissioners meeting to order, and I would like to welcome all of you in attendance. I know it's sort of a rainy night, but I appreciate all of y'all making the effort to come and speak before us as we take care of the business based upon Macon County government today, or tonight. I'm going to say something right now that I normally don't say as chairman of this board, but I feel like it's impotent upon me to make the statement that we have a very, very busy and packed agenda tonight. So if somebody gets to speaking a little too long, whether it be a commissioner or someone in the public, I might, if I feel like we're not going anywhere with it, move us right along so that we can take care of our business without having to adjourn and reconvene. So again, I'll be polite about it. So just want to give y'all a forewarning, but hopefully we won't come to that. So with that being said, I'll be quiet and try and move us on through this agenda. Any announcements, Mr. Manager?
No, sir.
Well, so I'm just going to read a quick letter that I received. Macon County Commissioners, on behalf of the Western North Carolina Veterans Council, thank you for your donation and support of the Welcome Home Dinner for the 210th National Guard Unit. Your support of our local military is greatly appreciated. The dinner is just a small way to give back to our service members. Sincerely, the Western North Carolina Veterans Council.
Mr. Chairman, real quickly, on March 30th, if you have your calendars, we'll be donating about 4.5 miles of the Warrior Road to Colonel Tom McNish.
The date again, please.
That's March 30th. It'll be in the early afternoon, probably 1:30, 2 o'clock. And that's following, by the way, that is also the day we recognize all Vietnam veterans, such as Mr. Shields during that same day. So Colonel McNish, of course, was former prisoner of war, former Assistant Attorney General to the United States, Surgeon General. And so it'll be a big day, and we sure do want to make that announcement early, and you'll be hearing more about that.
All right, with that being said, I will ask that we all rise and observe a moment of silence. I'll ask Commissioner Shields to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We do not have a public hearing scheduled for tonight, but we do have several people signed up for our public comment period. First up is Debbie Duke. Welcome. Hello, Debbie.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I come before you today because when you set the truth free, it roars like a mighty lion. So I won't take up much of your time, but I do have the stats from Harvard, Yale, and Berkeley on 5G electromagnetic radiation safety, along with detailed information, PowerPoints, and links to anything you need to know about the millimeter wave and how it affects the human cell, the genome, how it's going to affect our skin, how it's going to increase bacteria in our community that will be unable to be treated by antibiotics. Thank you, sir. I left 2 copies.
All right. Thank you.
Who do I hand them?
Why don't you just set them up here for me?
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mr.
Debbie.
Tate.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Pleasure.
James Birch. Welcome, James. Waste Management, Recycling.
Good evening, Commissioners. I won't speak too long. I just wanted to impress how important waste management and recycling is. It couldn't be nothing more important, one of the most important things anywhere. And it wouldn't be long if we went without it. 2 or 3 days we'd be in trouble because it's a constant where it has to be done. But anyway, I was just wanting to bring up some things that I hope y'all look at and you can discuss later on between us. One of them is something that I know when I first started on years ago with waste management and recycling, I was more or less promised longevity, like a raise if you know, every so often if you're with them, which never materialized. And I think it's unfair to the people that's willing to stay with the program, because it's a constant revolving door of people leaving. Nobody hardly stays with the program, and there's different reasons for that. And the ones who stay with this program feel that they're not a part of the regular county employees. One reason being part-time, but it's not a seasonal job. I mean, as far as what's done, it's only part-time workers, but it's not a seasonal job where you'd have like a recreation, like a swimming pool or something like that, where you close it down part of the year. This has something that has to go on constantly, and to have a living wage, what they call it, instead of, you know, cost of living rates, a living wage, which I'm going on probably 14 years now, really not had no decent raise or no raise at all hardly during those years, and then also, if you could look at it, get more hours, it wouldn't have to be a full 40, or maybe not even a 32 hours, but at least more hours. And we have people that's hard on called floaters, and they come and go a revolving door, yet they knock the ones out that's been there for years from getting more hours. And I've never understood this program from the very beginning, the way it's set up. I never have, because I don't know of anywhere else in the United States, now even Walmart and the other places, they're paying pretty good wages now, a living wage. But anyway, and you can go over some of the things I'll brought up maybe.
Thank you, James.
Thank
All right,
you.
James,
James.
which side are you working at now?
I was at Holly Springs, but I'm at Carson now.
Okay. Because, I mean, I've run into him several times at Holly Springs, and he, along with everyone else that I've interfaced with at our facility, does a fantastic job.
And we
appreciate
another thing I was gonna mention too, we had one guy went out not too long ago. He was one of the longest persons. He'd been with them 18 years, and I think he was making like $7.80 an hour is all he was making when he left. I mean, it's humiliating in a way, and it's.
Have you sat down and discussed it with Chris Stahl, James?
Me and him had some, yeah.
It's something we need to seriously look at, and I've talked to Chris about it.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
It's shameful
Thanks.
how the program is set up.
Thank you, James.
Thank you, James.
Agree?
All right, Jacob Ainsworth, Macon County Nuisance Ordinance Exemption. Welcome, Jacob.
Thank you very much. Thank you for welcoming me. I'm going to segue real quick off of what Mr. James said. From what I understand, we've got one of the best recycling programs in the state. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for having me. Thank you for your time and consideration. The Macon County Nuisance Ordinance, and I don't know if this is the one off of Google, the first one that came up. It was in 15, I reckon, that y'all looked at it, and I guess Derek signed off on it. And there was a law that is in here, 160.06, under B. Number 1, the use of horns or signaling devices in a manner such that loud, unnecessary, and disturbing noise as defined herein is produced from the same. That was noted under B as being unlawful and declared to be a nuisance in violation of this ordinance. There are some exemptions under 160.07, and I'm here before you this evening to ask for an exemption for a steam whistle that I have. I'd like to blow the steam whistle at 12 noon high every day, except on Good Friday, Easter Sunday, and Christmas Day. It would be on the same time every day. We're all on the same time now these days, and everybody I've talked to in the community is excited as I am about it, and I'm extremely excited about it. And the old timers really think that it'd be a wonderful thing. I've heard some wonderful stories from some Macon County folks, and they just were excited to hear about this. So with that said, I don't know the process. I don't know, if y'all have to vote on such a thing or whatnot, but it's not going to be anything that would be excessive. It would be non-excessive. It would be something that I would be overseeing. And I think it would be a real good thing.
Where's your steam whistle located?
My steam whistle's located at my place of employment,
Where's that?
Shaw.
Shaw.
Yes, sir.
That's inside the city limits, right?
Yes, sir. And from what I understand, that old steam whistle was taken off the Tallulah Railroad train, and the old mica mine was over there. And you can pick up the railroad track all the way down through Raven Gap, all the way down to the Cove. I've heard some good stories from some interesting folks of how their grandmama used to go get their granddaddy's paycheck at Friday at 12 o'clock when they heard that whistle before he got it. But anyway,
Have you been to the town?
no, sir, I haven't.
I think
Jack, does our ordinance cover the city, inside the city limits? It
I
don't,
don't
does
think it does.
No, we don't have
I did go
nothing
back
to do
and
with
look at it,
that.
but I
Okay,
don't
well,
believe
good. Well, this is a good starting place.
Yeah.
So can y'all point me in the right direction?
You need to go to the town board of
Frank,
aldermen.
They have the
Yep.
ordinance here.
Yeah, they've got an ordinance that you'll need to look at as well.
Okay.
The first Monday, 6 p.m.
First Monday, 6 p.m. We're at Town Hall? All right, well, at least I've run it by y'all and y'all know what my plan is.
Good luck on that.
Thank you.
maybe we'll hear it soon.
that thing blows.
Yeah, I know.
Is that the same whistle that's been around down there? Or
We have one of those.
It used to blow.
I'm gonna sit in and listen to the rest.
is that, who owns this whistle? Do you own it?
I don't own it.
Because it used to blow.
Still can.
Grant brought it here. Grant Ziggraff brought the whistle here.
Did he come off the old train?
Yep.
Okay, well, Ernie Payton told me that. I take sometimes Ernie stuff with a grain of salt.
Yep.
All right. Bill,
I'd like to hear it blow.
confess to that?
Yep.
All right.
Thank you, Jake.
Thank you.
All right, Norrell Kirkland, Dog Park runoff. Welcome, Norrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have eminent people like Sally and Warren. It would be very exciting to stay and hear everything, but the dog park is scheduled on the agenda for the very last item. Would you like me to wait until
You
that
can,
comes
you
up,
can
or-
come on. Yeah, you can come on.
Well, thank you for allowing me to come, and I can wish all of you a new year, even though it's February. I do want to take a moment and express my severe unhappiness that we lost David Waters. He was a major asset to the community and did good wherever he went. The obvious solution to the dog park runoff is to relocate it entirely. And the area that is behind the current SEC original building, I think it's called the Grove Center, you go up a gravel road and there's a very large area where you can play Frisbee. That would make a marvelous dog park. It would be level and a couple of 100 feet above the stream, so runoff would not be a situation. And eventually, of course, when that huge dirt pile is moved and construction continues on the other buildings, that might be a possibility. But immediately, anybody who owns a dog and has children is going to say, whoa, that's separating us from the kiddie park. So it would seem to me the most reasonable thing would be to keep the dog park in the general vicinity of where it is, but move it over more toward the swamp area and further away from the river. That's just basically a parking lot now, so that would be simple to do. And then with the proper graveling and dirt fill, sand, you might be able to make a sufficient drainage so the problem going into the stream would be eliminated.
Norrell, just for your request, in case you don't want to hang out for the entire meeting, the Recreation Committee that we have appointed has been studying this issue. The dog park is going to have to be moved from the current location for various reasons. And they have been studying different locations, and we're going to be receiving their recommendation of a new location tonight. And then it'll be up to us to decide if we want to pursue that location or not. That's what we're expecting later in the meeting.
Well, why don't we leave it that you'll give me a call if I could contribute anything further, but it sounds like the problem is going to be
Yeah,
solved.
yeah, we're starting tonight.
Well
A solution, anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you, Darrell. Sally, I'm gonna move you to report on that since you gave me a little bit earlier. Anybody else, anyone else would like to address this for public comment? Going once, going twice, everybody good?
What do I need to do to talk to the commissioners in private?
Just email us or
Is that
call us,
something
yeah.
that I mean, how does that work?
Just email us, probably the best way, and set up a time. We'll be happy to meet with you.
Can I get a list of your email addresses?
It's on the website.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I'll copy all of them.
All right.
Or just see Derek and he can hook you up.
No, I tried to see Derek, I couldn't get in to see him 2 times already.
That was last week while we were.
He was preparing for me the next day.
Yeah, email us, the best way to start it. Yeah,
Thank
that's good, thank you. Yeah. All right, we'll move on from public comment. Any changes or additions to the agenda? Mr. Manager, go ahead.
Derek.
I'll work my way around.
Starting, Mr. Chairman, as you had emailed me, we will be adding to 9B a report on blue zones. Again, that would
Okay, let's put that as 9C if you don't mind.
Okay.
I'm gonna be adding a 9B.
Okay. We'll put that at 9C.
Okay,
Then, if moving right along under old business, we'll have item number 10C. Will be an update on the courthouse security project.
what number is that, I'm sorry?
Under old business will be item number 10C.
Okay,
Then we'll have a number 10D, the Macon Middle School resolution exempting architectural services. And then we will be discussing a contract with Novus Architecture following passage of that resolution.
okay,
Then we will, moving right along to new business. Item number 11C1 will be discussion of a county contribution to the Nikwasi Initiative. And our EDC director, Mr. Tommy Jenkins, will be handling that. If we could add under new business, item number 11H. And that will be a request, that will be a recommendation regarding the request for proposals for audit services. And we'll be discussing a motion to approve the audit contract. Under your consent agenda, I add an item number 12G. And that is the minutes of the February 7th, 2019 meeting, which have been included here in your agenda packet and would not be possible without Lindsay, who has been helping us in Mike's absence. So I would like to thank her and Lori, the finance office, for the assistance they've given us. Under appointments, add an item number 13C. We'll be discussing the appointments for the Board of Equalization and Review. And an item number 13D, we'll be discussing ETJ appointment for the town of Franklin.
and I understand there is reason for a closed session tonight.
There is reason for a closed session to preserve the attorney-client privilege.
Commissioner Shields? Yeah, Commissioner Bill?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I do want to give a real quick update on the TDC of what was approved for Macon County as far as the DOT construction going forward.
Let's
Just
put that as 9D.
Yeah, it won't take long.
Okay. I would like to add 9B, Mayor Patrick Taylor, Highway 64 between Highlands and Franklin.
Is that on, okay, that's on reports.
Under reports, yep. 9B, I have Sally Taylor as 9C, and I have Commissioner Bill under 9D. Commissioner Gillespie? Commissioner Higdon? Lori? No. Chester? No. Odette, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Those be approved as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving right on to item 9A, reports and presentations. Michelle Brooks and Future Business Leaders of America to discuss Alzheimer's Awareness Community Service Project and proclamation letter declaring February 22nd, Alzheimer's Awareness Day in Franklin, North Carolina. Welcome.
Well, I'm Michelle Brooks, and this is just part of my group, and we appreciate y'all giving us a little bit of your time. And we're going to talk tonight about our community service project. You know, we always do a big one, and so this year is no exception. And I'm going to let them do the majority of the talking because I do too much talking all day. So I can introduce them. This is Evan Klatt, Sky Crowell. Summer Passmore is my co-advisor now, Maggie Baldwin, and Mary Harper. And then Shannon, who's not up here with us, he always helps me out too. He's in the professional division and he does a lot of work with us, and we appreciate him. So I'll let them get started so we can save time.
Hello everyone, my name is Maggie Baldwin, and I'm the president of our local chapter for FBLA at Franklin High School. And today I would like to talk to you a little bit about our community service project this year. And this is an Alzheimer's awareness concert put on by Jay Allen, and he is a country musician out of Nashville, and his mother has Alzheimer's, so it's very important to him. He pulled his mom up on the stage and sang a song. A person in the crowd videotaped it, and the video went viral on Facebook and has now been seen over 125 million times.
Oh my God.
So we have the pleasure, thank you, we have the pleasure of having him at the Smoky Mountain Center for the Performing Arts. Here's our flyer that you might have seen around town. And the concert is February 22nd at 7:30. Our tickets are $10 for students, $20 for adults, and then $40 for the VIP tickets, which are first and second row. You get a backstage pass to go meet Jay Allen, and also one of our t-shirts. These t-shirts were designed by Miss Michelle Brooks. This is the back, and we wore them at a purple out at school, where all the kids at our school wore purple for their support. We also do things such as volunteering at the senior center every Wednesday, and we handed out brochures at the Christmas parade. So we do a lot, and around town we have had businesses support our cause. So I'm going to pass it over to Mary, but thank you so much for letting me speak to you guys tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie.
Hello, everybody. I'm Mary Harper. I'm the secretary for Future Business Leaders of America. I'm here to talk to you guys today to encourage you to issue a proclamation declaring February 22nd of 2019 as an Alzheimer's Awareness Day for Macon County. By taking this action, you will help the Future Business Leaders of America, FBLA, bring greater awareness to Alzheimer's, the sixth leading cause of death in the United States. In 2018, an estimated 5.7 million Americans of all ages are living with this disease. We encourage you to recognize the February 22nd, 19 as Alzheimer's Awareness Day in Macon County. Your support will raise awareness among Macon County residents about Alzheimer's. And now I'll turn it to Evan Klatt to talk to you about the proclamations.
Hi, I'm Evan Klatt. Proclamation is whereas Macon County celebrates Alzheimer's Awareness Day to bring greater awareness to Alzheimer's, and whereas Alzheimer's is the sixth leading cause of death in the United States, and whereas half of all adults over 85 have Alzheimer's, and whereas more women have Alzheimer's than men, and whereas symptoms of the disease may develop as early as age 30, and whereas Macon County has joined with the Future Business Leaders of America in an effort to help save lives in Macon County, and whereas education and increased awareness can help inform the public of local resources available, and whereas the Alzheimer's Awareness Concert held on February 22nd, 2019 will help bring greater awareness to the disease and sharing of local resources, and now therefore I do hereby proclaim February 22nd, 2019 to be Alzheimer's Awareness Day in Macon County, and encourage all individuals to work together to promote awareness and understanding of Alzheimer's.
Thank you. Good job. Can I get a motion to approve, Sam?
I make a motion to approve as presented.
Second. No, second by Commissioner Shields. All in favor?
Thank you.
We'll get photos real quick. They can stand. Of course. Would y'all mind to stand?
Not a bit. Let me sign this real quick and we'll,
Ms. Brooks, while they're taking the picture, there's a little bit of history with this group also. You did colon cancer for many years.
Take pictures. Okay.
Okay, sorry about that.
Why don't you tell them about, some of them may not realize what y'all have done for many years.
Yeah,
Colon cancer.
Yeah, this is our third concert that we've done for different awareness. As you know, Lynn, my sister, had stage 3 colon cancer. And so we did 2 colon cancer awareness concerts with Wade Hayes, which he is a stage 4 colon cancer survivor. And I don't know if you know the statistics on that, 1 in 12, only 1 in 12 survive with stage 4. And so we did that. With those concerts, we raised around $17,000 each time. This time we're around, I think, $13,000 right now that we've raised for Alzheimer's. And so we're going to try to donate some of that locally. We have overhead we have to meet first, and then we're going to donate some of it locally. And then the rest of it we're going to use to help get these kids to nationals, because we know we're going to make it there. So,
Good deal.
yeah.
Michelle, can you give them a little information of why we actually chose this year? You're welcome.
She wants me to cry. But anyway, my dad was diagnosed a year ago.
Good.
Thankfully. You're welcome.
Well, I just signed that proclamation. You mentioned something about a picture. I was busy signing. Do you want us to stand? And
Yeah, you care to stand?
Yeah, not a bit.
Now that I'm all teary-eyed.
Make your eyes.
No. Yes.
Yeah, that's better. Everybody's good stuff.
All right. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Good job. Good job, Mike.
Great presentation.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Here you go.
Mr. Bill, Sheila Jenkins likes you a lot.
Who?
Sheila?
Sheila Jenkins?
Yeah. You know my
Quite a
wife.
bit of
I know
her.
you know Angel, sweet Angel.
Oh, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate that.
Thank y'all again.
Going to Nashville, Tennessee?
No, well, Jay's coming here, but Nationals is in San Antonio.
Dennis Holland. You know the mayor of Highlands?
All right, moving right along. Item 9B, Mayor Patrick Taylor. He's going to discuss with us. Go ahead, Patrick.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to speak. I'm actually here in support of my wife, who's going to do a Blue Zone report next. But there's kind of a current update that I informed Commissioner Tate I can do very quickly, and I understand long agenda, so let me talk fast. Commissioner Bill and I serve on the Transportation Advisory Committee of the Southwestern Commission. We've realized there's been a problem for quite some time between here and Highlands, and that is tractor-trailer trucks on the Forge Road. And tonight, we've had a tractor-trailer truck go right past the turnaround, and it's in Buck Creek. And as we were coming down Buck Creek Road, there's a huge crane there. Traffic, of course, has been stopped. They'll be working on it tonight. Let me just update. I've taken this on as kind of the project as the Highlands mayor, and I've briefed the Franklin Town Board, and I'm glad to brief you on what we've done. First of all, I met with Highway Patrolman Sergeant Deals, who's in charge of all of the regulations on trucking in Western Carolina, and he informed us that we needed to simplify the law on the Gorge Road. Right now, if you go by those signs that says 4 axles or whatever, so many thousand pounds and so forth, truckers can't read that as they're going by. And he's encourage a change in the ordinances and the laws to where it says no tractor trailer trucks, period. And he's assured me that they can define what a tractor trailer truck is very clearly, and it would help them with their enforcement. So that's one dimension of this problem. Also met with Division 14 engineer Brian Birch and his staff. They came to Highlands just week after last, and we had a good meeting. His traffic engineers and ordinance people were there, and they agreed that those signs need to be simplified. So the signs will be changed in the next few months. And also what they're doing, and I've been advocating this, the signs will also be illuminated and radar activated. So when a large tractor trailer rig starts to approach that turnaround, there'll be flashing lights coming on and directing that tractor trailer truck to go into that turnaround, where there'll be instructions on where they're supposed to go and not to go on that gorge road. Same thing will be done on the Highlands side too. We will have our signs that will activate and try to direct those trucks to NC 106 to avoid going down that road, because it's just too critical of an artery between Highlands and Franklin's to have these disruptions, and it is dangerous to the motoring public. So that's where we stand. There will be some changes made in the coming months with DOT. And also the law enforcement people, Sergeant Deal says their change in getting the truck companies to start avoiding that area and rerouting, that will be a longer process. They're building up a case and enforcement, and it will take some time. It won't be solved overnight, but we are working on that critical problem. So just wanted to give you a quick update on where we are on that.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor.
Okay.
I appreciate your work and efforts on this. I'd also like to state that Mayor Taylor and I we met with both Representative Corbin and Senator Davis, and they were both in support of both of these initiatives. So, but again, we appreciate your effort, and this probably wouldn't be happening if you weren't pushing this along. So yeah, you deserve full credit.
Thank you.
All right, item 9C, Miss Sally Taylor.
Well, now you know who I am. So thank you for this opportunity to speak and putting me on the agenda. It was my husband who saw the Blue Zones presentation a few years ago at the League of Municipalities meeting, came home and told me about it, and we both became very enthusiastic about the possibilities that it would afford our area, and I took it on for myself to launch this project. Blue zones traditionally are 5 areas in the world where people live measurably longer, healthier lives with less chronic diseases such as diabetes, Alzheimer's, heart disease, drug addiction. Scientists studied these areas and found that there are 9 common practices that create these areas. And these, I'm not going to go into the 9, and I forwarded some information, if you've got that or if you've had time to look at it. There is a wonderful website, and I'm going to be brief, so there's a lot more information. But some of these common practices include healthy plant-based diets, moderate exercise, and various forms of social connectivity. And this is nothing new, but studies show that permanent changes to the environment and community buy-in to healthier choices increase measurable or make measurable increases in healthier, longer, happier lives. So Dan Butner, who's associated with the National Geographic, took this information. He and his brother Tony are from Minnesota. They started a business called Blue Zones, and they use this information to develop tools and programs to make communities blue zones, communities or regions. There are now at least 42 communities in 9 states that are moving towards blue zones communities. Fort Worth is one, and Naples is one. And one of the 5 original blue zones areas is Loma Linda, California. The rest of them are overseas. The Blue Zones project uses the Gallup Healthway Wellbeing Index to measure improvement. The only catch to that is they need a population of at least 25,000 people. So just focusing on Highlands or Franklin is not quite enough. So we're targeting all of Jackson and Macon counties, which gives us about 78,000 people in the community. And a community can expect to see changes such as decreased healthcare costs, increased productivity, a boost in economic vitality, and the ability to attract grants. I have so far approached Highlands Town Board, Cashers, leadership team, Silva Town Board, and the Franklin Town Board. And all of these groups have given an enthusiastic yes that they are definitely interested. And I wasn't asking for any kind of official motion on that, but just an open mind. We have phase one, which is a presentation, a Blue Zones presentation, which is given by Tony Butner. I believe it's the one that my husband saw. It promises to be very informative and inspirational. I have raised the money for that. The presentation is June 10th at 6 p.m. at the PAC, and hope to have around 200 community leaders, key stakeholders, and interested individuals who would like to see this happen. And that's it in a nutshell. I'll be happy to answer any questions or guide you to the website.
So do you have your committee put together, Ms.
I
Taylor?
have a steering committee of 5 people right now. I'm seeking a person in Silva and maybe one more person from Franklin. But right now I have a core group of people.
So eventually you'd be a 501c3?
We have to, all right, that's a good question. We have to move funds through a 501c3, and right now I've talked with Robin Tyndall, who is the executive director of the Highlands Cashers Health Foundation, and they are showing extreme interest in the possibility of doing this, and we can run the funding through that 501c3.
The Sherman's Rotary Club is another good place to run funds through if you ever get lined up.
Yeah.
Thanks, Derek, will you make sure you forward all that to us, please? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for y'all's trip down the mountain. I guess you have to take a detour
We do.
on the way home? All right.
Well, the log truck sort of messed it up the other day, didn't it?
Yes, it did. Thank you so much.
All right, safe travels. Thank y'all. You're welcome to hang out. All right, item 9D, Commissioner Bill.
Real quickly, the final prioritization for the results from the rural planning organization that Mayor Taylor just talked about. This includes Cherokee, Clay, Graham, Jackson, Macon, and Swain counties. We won't go into how all the points work, but Mayor Taylor and I always get together and with input from the citizens and this board. So here's what we got. Last year, if you remember, we did real good. We got a lot of things. We got the intersection. Of course, we didn't have a whole lot to do with the roundabouts, but that was inside the city. But outside the city, from McDonald's to the fairgrounds, that has been funded, as has the bridge, the one-lane bridge there behind the new Ingalls. So that is underway, and that construction is scheduled. The rain has put a delay, and the Army Corps of Engineers has now signed off on that. That will probably start as soon as possible with the weather conditions. From White Horizon Road, if you all know where I'm talking about, to Prentice Bridge Road, that has been approved for right-of-way. That section of the road. What did not get funded was from there to the Georgia line to improve that whole 441 north and south. So that did not get funded. We expected that, but it's supposed to come back up in 2025. So we'll see how that goes. What we did get funded in this go-around was the construction sidewalk from East Main Street at Old Cat Creek Road and the entire First Street in Highlands. That is funded, and that's on schedule to be completed in 2022. They may move that up because it was a small amount of money, but we keep asking Mayor Taylor and myself, all those from this county, for more maintenance money. The maintenance money used to be in they've changed how they do that. We have over 2,300 and something miles of secondary roads, and still got a lot of gravel roads. So maintenance money is at a premium, and I think we'll be seeing more maintenance money and more single lane bridges. I think their goal is to get rid of, there's still a lot of single lane bridges in Macon County, so that's pretty much it. It's a lot of time and a lot of travel back and forth, but it's certainly worth it for our secondary roads, and so we'll keep working on that, Mr. Mayor. With me and Mr. Mayor, we'll keep working on that.
It's a lot of steps going up First Street in Helens.
That's right.
Cool. All right, moving on to old business. Item 10A, approval of lease agreement between Macon County and SCC.
Gentlemen,
Mr. Chester James.
the paperwork that was before you when you came in, there is a proposed lease to Macon County from the trustees of Southwestern Community College. This is for land that is behind the Southwestern Community College property out at the industrial park. As most of you probably know, the land behind that building has been utilized by Macon County Recreation for a number of years. The trustees for Southwestern Community College approached the county and requested that that property be leased. In other words, turned over possession to the county so that the county could basically maintain and be responsible for that property. I have prepared a proposed lease in consultation with the community college as well as its legal counsel, and it's a 20-year lease. It'll cost the county $200 a year and basically maintenance obligation for a period, I'm sorry, $200 period.
$10 a year.
It's $10 a year. But that will be payable once this is approved by both SEC's Board of Trustees, and this also has to go before the State Board of Community Colleges for approval before we can actually sign this lease. My understanding is SEC's legal counsel or President One will be securing that approval. We do not anticipate any problems. The parcel of land basically puts within possession and control of the county all of the lands from the access road behind the SEC building to Cartuca J Creek. It's essentially what's being used and has been used for a number of years.
All right, can I get a motion to approve the resolution?
Motion to approve.
Excuse me, it's the lease agreement.
just the lease,
Sorry, just the
yeah.
lease agreement. We've got a motion by Commissioner Bill, a second by Commissioner Gillespie. All in favor?
Okay.
Aye. Thank you, Chester. All right, item 10B, authorize county manager to execute contract amendment between Macon County and the North Carolina Office of State Budget and Management.
Thank you,
Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you'll recall, we discussed this earlier. Representative Corbin actually was able to secure some funding for us at the state level to go towards the purchase of in-car cameras as well as body cameras for our sheriff's department. That would be is $65,000 in total funds that would be provided to Macon County on a reimbursement basis. What you have in your agenda packet is an amended contract. Senator Davis in fiscal year 16-17 was able to secure us $100,000 that was applied toward the Robert C. Carpenter Building project. So basically what you're approving here tonight is an amendment to that agreement that will allow them to reimburse us for the $65,000 spent on in-car and body cameras for the Macon County Sheriff's Department.
We get a motion to approve the county manager to execute the contract amendment.
Make a motion to be approved. as
Motion by
presented.
Commissioner Shields.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bill. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Thank you, Derek.
Yes, sir.
Item 9C, courthouse security update. Welcome, Sheriff Holland.
Thank you. And also with me tonight is Judge Coward. Walked right by him.
I looked right past him.
I guess I don't know exactly where to begin on this. This is a second part to a discussion that we had on last Thursday. Last Thursday, you asked us to go back and get some prices on some items, and so we've been able to do that. The first items that we had talked about was our metal detectors and our x-ray machine. Something that's changed with our metal detector is the fact that when we got the inspectors, the fire marshal and the building inspector involved, something that we didn't think about was the egress out of the building. And so it changed some things quite a bit because we had to make sure that we met those standards. So it was good that we had them involved, got them involved. But as you all know from Thursday, and I'll reiterate since Mr. Higdon wasn't here, this is following the almost 2 years ago when Judge Cowart made a request that we increase our security within our courthouse and came and made a presentation to you all, and then you all directed me to form a committee. And as you recall from Thursday, that committee is apprised of every agency within this Macon County Courthouse. We actually had about 22 members of this committee, and if all of you have served on a committee, you know how difficult that can be to have 22 people on a committee. A lot of opinions, a lot of ideas. It's been great. We've had a great working relationship. I wish I could tell you how many times we met. I can't off the top of my head, but it was a bunch over the last 2 years. It was broke down into 6 different groups, subcommittees, and we've come back and made recommendations. The judge was at all of the meetings as well as I think I missed one of the meetings in total. But they've made recommendations, and so Thursday we talked to you all about those recommendations. And so we've come and we put a proposal. County Manager, did you put a proposal together, a list of the numbers?
Yes, I've provided you, should be at each of your desks, a proposal. I've put broken down the cost between fiscal year 19 and fiscal year 20. What you'll see in the fiscal year 19 columns, the first two in fiscal year 19 will be operating costs that will be taken on in this fiscal year with the additional personnel, as well as the operating supplies increase to the courthouse security budget. The remaining items that you see there on the page are the capital items that are part of the actual physical components of this project. And we already had, if you'll recall, appropriated $55,881 in the fiscal year 19 budget to go toward the salary of 2 additional officers for half a year in the courthouse security budget. So that number is subtracted there at the bottom of the column, which gives you a grand total for this fiscal year. And again, that's counting project installation as well as the operating cost moving forward of $229,067. If you'll move over to the fiscal year 20 column, you'll notice all your capital expenditures are going to go away as they're one-time purchases, but you will carry forward with the addition of 6 officers, $373,432 a year personnel increase, and then an increase to the operating supplies in that budget by an estimated $10,000 a year in conversations with the sheriff. So total moving forward increase to courthouse security operations-wise will be $383,432, and that is reflected down in the bottom of that fiscal year 20 column. I would like to bring to your attention the fact that the capital items in this project total up to an amount of $131,933, excuse me. $133,502.23. With that being said, the project with the cost of the material in this amount exceeds the required threshold for a formal bid statute, for formal bids. So with that being said, with the total amount of equipment purchased being $133,000 right there at it, $502.23. That is above the $90,000 requirement for an informal bid. So in other words, we'll have to formally bid this equipment at this level.
And to give you a little bit of information, Mr. Higdon, in a perfect world, we would love it to be one location that you enter into the courthouse. And the problem with doing that with this courthouse is we've determined that it would take so much money for us to have two locations, because you have the parking in the back, and then you also have parking on the second level, which is out by Peoples and out front. And so in order to try to save as much money as we could, we determined that it was cheaper to have the two entryways. Yes, you have to buy the two X-ray machines and the two metal detectors, but when you figure out what it would cost to do the construction, to build a handicap accessible a ramp, you'd have to come all the way around the Corbin building and down to the front. It outweighed it, and so that's why we're looking at two. And we understand that the needs assessment that is being done currently, that's going to take some time. I think you said the other day, August or September, we should be getting something back from them.
Yeah.
But we wanted to explain to you to make sure that you understood that was something that we looked at already. The three priorities that we had was the safety of everybody that enters this courthouse, no matter what they're doing in this courthouse. And the second thing that was the most important to us was to make sure that the employees that are housed in this facility or this courthouse that are providing the services to the general public, we wanted to do something to ensure their safety. And then thirdly is to make sure that the general public that's utilizing these services are safe. And a number that we threw out the other day too, to let you know, that's a real surprise, is 20,000 people utilize our court system here in this courthouse in a year. That's just our court system. That doesn't include people that are coming into the mapping department or the tax office. 20,000 people just in the court system.
See, now, the other day we talked, the door down there coming off the street, it's no longer right.
Both doors.
What's the bottom now?
You're talking about the one at the clerk of court's office that's right out here between the Cowart building?
That goes away.
That goes away. The access you'll have into this building is back here. And then you'll have down there at the clerk of court's office that reach out to Main Street and also out to the old People's Store. You'll have those two entrances. You'll have this. The only entrance that we're going to be eliminating is one right out here down there by the clerk of court's office.
I think we determined, Sheriff, at our work session that this is top priority for right now. I think there's no doubt about it. So whatever we need to do to get the formal bids and how long will that take and what's the turnaround, and
It'll be, formal bid, we'll be looking at the March meeting to get that turned around.
we got companies, do we,
Judge?
Sure.
Judge, we have other companies we can reach out to? I don't know. This is Point Security. I'm sure there's other folks that, but these are fairly local.
We're going to need to come up with specifications that are probably manufacturer neutral unless we have a reason to specify a specific manufacturer.
How we actually found these companies for the X-ray machine is by visiting the surrounding counties that were utilizing such courthouse security equipment, and that's how we were able to reach out to those people to find, because we wanted to find out from those agencies that were using that equipment that it was equipment that they found useful, that they found that was equipment that was upholding to what their needs were, and any changes that they would want to make. And so that's why we reached out to them.
And of course, the reason the best equipment is very important is if that equipment should fail and something does get by that, then the liability comes straight to the county.
Yeah,
So,
starts with me.
that's right. So, whatever we need to do to keep it moving, Mr. Chairman's my thought.
The equipment that we currently have is 2001 equipment that you see up in the courthouse now. And there's issues with that I'm not going to speak about here publicly. But it was my recommendation and the judge's recommendation that we don't utilize that equipment.
We worked on it, everything.
I agree with that, Commissioner Bill. I think this is imperative. I sat through the majority of these meetings, not all of them, but I understand full well your point of views, and
This room was
I think
full
we
of
move
people.
forward. That's correct. Is there any questions? I think we need probably a motion to put this out to bid, correct, Chester?
And advertise it.
Advertise it?
I'll make a motion that we make formally bids for courthouse security proposal as authorized by the sheriff and Judge Cowart, and give the county manager and county attorney instructions to proceed on with getting formal bids for the equipment as needed.
We're going to try and have this for our March meeting?
Yes, sir.
There, okay. We get a second, motion by Commissioner Bill.
I'll second.
Got a second by Commissioner Shields. Discussion? Anyone? All in favor? Aye.
We need those generic specs ASAP
Yeah,
to get this ball rolling.
We've got to have them yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay, we're used to y'all saying that.
Well, I mean, the bottom line is if we get them tomorrow, we can, well, no, we can't even
Do you
get
not
it
already
in
have
Friday. It'll be
No.
next Wednesday before it could be
Could even
advertised.
be
I've got,
in the
I
paper.
mean, I've got these specs.
It's got to advertise.
That's good enough, make them generic. Move it
I don't
on.
want to see anybody's on state contract. That'll
That's you do that?
do that.
Well, we can also check those, we can check those buying pools
Yeah.
Yes,
as well.
there's
I
other
mean, it's a great
options.
option to speed it up.
Yeah.
And I understand, Sheriff, that along with that, just so the board will know, that there's a back page that's supposedly adding surveillance cameras at the metal detectors and scanning units, door alarms, computer equipment on the second and third floor.
Correct.
We want to make sure that's really important to this,
Absolutely.
to the meetings I attended, and hits to provide all ports of entry switches, network program, and network infrastructure. So
Is that
I
included?
understand this is all included.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all on this
Mr.
page.
It's
Chairman,
all one package.
the county is, by way of interlocal agreements, members of some buying arrangements. And would you want the county to look at those as well as advertising?
Absolutely.
This, they're right over here will take care of that.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Judge.
Yep.
Thank you all.
Very much.
All right. Item 10D, resolution exempting architectural services for Macon Middle School. Chester, I presume that's?
Yes. Grab my little file here.
While Chester is getting that, I would like to say that I did reach out to Mosley Architects, who, as we have discussed, is currently here providing some architectural services for Macon County. Got their proposal back. They were about $750 higher than the Novus proposal, and the turnaround time was about an additional 5 weeks. I think they had an 8-week turnaround time, whereas Novus here in this proposal is giving you a 4-week turnaround time. So with that being said, that is the reasoning. Did receive that other proposal from Mosley, as we have discussed at Thursday's meeting, and it was apples to apples. Novus had the faster turnaround time and the lower price to look at the conditions assessment for the Macon Middle School.
Mr. Bennett, have you compared this one? I don't think me and Ms. Fields have had a chance as liaisons to compare this Novus scope of work to the previous, to the original.
This includes the revisions that the board had instructed.
So this includes what we talked about
Yes.
as a liaison committee, everything.
And just to double check that and to make sure, I will again send them a copy and just get them to verify via email that is the case before signing the agreement, if that's the direction.
If she was correct, I think we added 4 things, 2 from the original, and they didn't list them per se on here, but
Right.
that don't mean it's not included.
Right. I will confirm that and be sure that those things are included in it.
I was going to say, the document that was provided to me, the only changes made to it from what was presented to the county last February were changes that I requested, and they were technical requests.
From the school I'm talking about, from the actual work.
Yeah, there were no changes to my knowledge, at least from the February of 2018 proposal.
When I spoke with Ms. Kite on the phone, she had received my follow-up email that included the new list.
So she saw it.
So she has saw it, but I will get confirmation that it is included in this proposal before we move forward.
And if you're going to approve the proposal, I think it would be appropriate that if what you're expecting to be in it is not in it, that you authorize myself and Derek to secure those changes. We will. Before execution.
Well, there was a few, it wasn't major, I don't think there was anything major, but make sure everything.
We will be sure
It's a
that-
one-shot deal, so.
In there and secured. If there's any change in the price, I will email that.
You okay with
to them.
Liaison, you want to make a motion on that?
As
But before
liaison
we do that,
You want to
first
do the
need to
resolution?
address this resolution. As you know, the general statutes basically say that we've got to put out for requests for proposals any of our needs for architectural services unless we exempt a project that has a cost of $50,000 or less in writing. This particular project will have a cost less than $50,000, and there is a need to proceed with it just as quickly as possible. There's already been dialogue with Novus. They know what the general project is, and they have provided a proposal for doing the project. Derek, if I'm not correct, $22,000. So it meets the criteria for the exemption. This resolution that I provided to each of you would.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion, we pass the resolution exempting architectural services project for the existing building conditions assessment for the Macon County Middle Grade School from the provisions of Article 3D of Chapter 142 of the North Carolina General Statutes.
And we have a motion by Commissioner Bill.
As liaison, I second.
We have a second by Commissioner Shields. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 The next motion, Mr. Chairman, will be a resolution for Novus Architecture. Agreement for the existing building conditions assessment to be done by Novus Architects, with a caveat that if anything new is to be added to this contract, given the county manager and our county attorney full authority to negotiate those at a reasonable cost.
Technical legal entity's name is Novus DEW Asheville PLLC. There's several different Novuses, and this is the one that we would be contracting with.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bill with the noted change of name and
We need a budget amendment for the $22,000, so.
After it's passed. Now you'll put that included in the motion? You want me to include it in the motion?
Before it's executed. Yeah, just
And
put it
included in that motion is a budget amendment to pay for the services.
Contingency or fund balance?
Huh? Fund balance.
Fund balance, okay.
got all this? All right, thank you. All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Bill with the 2 noted changes.
Second.
Got a second by Commissioner Shields. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you. All right, moving along to new business. Item 11A, state funding for the Community Paramedic Program. Warren Cave, Emergency Management Director. Welcome, Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I actually don't want money tonight. A couple weeks ago, the Department of Health and Human Services Office of EMS contacted our agency and notified us of a funding opportunity for existing community paramedic programs that had a post-overdose response program. And we do have one of those programs with our agency. And one of the in a nutshell, what that program is any patient that we contact in the back of an ambulance that has had to have either naloxone or more commonly known as Narcan administered for an overdose, within 24 to 48 hours of that patient exposure, they are referred to the community paramedic program, and the community paramedics will reach out to those folks in addition to, along with a peer support specialist or a behavioral health specialist, to follow up with them to make sure that the care that they have had is okay, that we attempt to keep them well, and to try and make sure that they don't have some sort of a relapse. So it's basically a follow-up program for those folks to try and maintain their health. So we submitted some information about our program to these folks, and they've offered us some funding in the amount of $20,000 over a period of about 6 months. We currently operate this program 5 days a week. During that 5 days a week, we use our existing staff. We don't hire any new staff. We use our existing staff. We backfill them with part-time staff. And during that 5 days, we do what you would consider normal integrated healthcare community paramedicine programs, where we try to keep folks from being readmits to medical facilities when they're discharged, to try and deal with the folks that kind of fall through the cracks, that are out of a medical facility but aren't really into a palliative care type environment, and to try and just maintain the health of those folks. And we do the post-overdose program, and we also do the behavioral health emergencies. We've got folks trained in all of those 3 different avenues. So essentially, this funding opportunity would cover that program 2 days a week, along with the vehicle expenses, mileage expenses, and there's some printing expenses in there for some literature we distribute to those folks to help maintain their education. We're not expanding our program. It basically covers 2 of the days that we're already doing. We're not asking for new staff, but it'll basically help us meet our budgetary needs throughout the year. And if you approve this request, there is a budget amendment that will be in your consent agenda to cover the budget amendment to follow.
What Warren did not say, Mr. Chairman, is that this program is not, it's groundbreaking for this area and mostly for our state. There's not many programs like this. Warren and his folks do an excellent job. We see the involuntary commitments are down at the hospital. We think this plays a huge role in that. We think No Wrong Door is going to play a huge role in helping Warren and his folks. Joy Gibson does a wonderful job, to name one of many, Warren. So the initial funding, of course, Evergreen helped us with the initial funding for this program. So it's just an outstanding program. It saves the taxpayer dollars many times over in a lot of ways. And so what do you need a motion, Warren, for that?
Yes, to accept the funding.
I make a motion, we accept the free money, Mr. Chairman.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Bill. We got a second by Commissioner Shields. Let me just say, Warren, I just like Commissioner Bill, I can't say enough. I think it's been, from my understanding, been just a resounding success, and thanks to your leadership for that program.
We have a lot of really good folks. They go through some special training on how to deal with these patients. At any given time, we have between 30 and 45 patients enrolled in the program. Some of them will stay 2 days, and then they'll what we call graduate out. We have some folks that are there for months at a time. When you ask me numbers, the numbers are very fluid. They change from day to day. So, but I appreciate that, and I'll pass that on to these folks.
Great, thank you.
What about the weekends?
We currently are not staffed on the weekends. We're only staffed, we staff this program 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. And a lot of that has to do with most of our referrals are discharges from medical facilities or referrals from what you would consider a typical medical facility. So therefore, most of those come Monday through Friday. And typically, the responses that we deal with, the time frame from a Friday afternoon to a Monday morning, it's a little different from the emergency part of the medicine. The 2 days is not a deal breaker on most of these folks to maintain their health. So we're still okay doing Monday through Friday.
All right, all in favor?
Aye. Good job, Warren.
Thank you, Warren.
Thank you, Warren.
All right, item 11B, resolution declaring surplus property and approval of a 9-month lease to Teco? Teco SSL Incorporated?
Mr. Chairman, probably that matter, the resolution as well as the approval of the lease should probably be considered simultaneously. Those documents are before you. In fact, you had the resolution and the lease as part and parcel of your agenda package. What was missing from the actual lease document is this page right here that shows the actual lease area.
Okay.
It's the yellow portion. That has, a copy of that's been provided to you.
Can you give us a little background info on them?
Old Chester was.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I'm just kidding.
Either one?
No, as you know, earlier in November, they released TICO, the space in the Business Development Center for their design and manufacture of LEDs, lighting systems for testing new automobiles for paint effects. They decided they were located and had their main office in Paris, Kentucky, but they decided that they'd like to put their office operation down here. And we have the space available in the front offices of the Business Development Center. So with your approval, we can set them up shop in there. Probably be the one-person office manager to start out with.
Can we get a motion for the resolution declaring surplus property and the approval of the lease?
Make a motion to be approved as it presented.
All right, got a motion by Commissioner Shields.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bill. All in favor? Aye. Thank you, Tommy.
Tommy, you want to speak to the, while you're there, Mr. Chairman, can he go ahead and speak to the Niquosi Initiative?
That's item 9C1.
Mr. Chairman, the Niquosi Initiative, of course, is the ongoing awareness of the Cherokee Cultural Corridor between Macon and Swain counties. They manage a corridor project with multiple partners, those being the county being one, the town of Franklin, the Eastern Band, Mainspring, the Cowley School Arts and Heritage Center, and the Museum of the Cherokee Indian. Now, there were several accomplishments in 18. We won't list those, but the plans for this year, I think the biggest plan, if you remember where Dan's old auto parts was, at the foot of Town Hill, the Eastern Band does plan on making that a museum, which is very much part of our heritage. So I think, Tom, if you want to pick it up from there, go ahead.
Yeah, the Niquosi Initiative was started in 2016. Basically, it was, the original thought was to build relationships between Eastern Band and the communities around, specifically Macon and Swain, along the, what they call the Niquosi Corridor, which is from South Macon up into Swain County. That has historical significance not only for the Eastern Band, but also for their citizens. Very historical site there. As Ronnie mentioned, there's several partners in it, and since 2016, the funds that you all have been gracious enough to appropriate before in the town and the tribe have leveraged over $300,000 in capital funds and other improvement funds throughout the corridor. That does not include the purchase of Dan's Auto by the Eastern Band. So basically, the relationships built from the Niquosi Initiative helped move that project along to where it's finally going to see fruition. They're now doing their business plan and moving forward with what the building's going to look like in that whole general area, working with other partners in East Franklin down by the river. So basically, what I'm here to ask this evening is for y'all to appropriate $12,500 from economic development reserves to go towards continuing that mission and go towards administrative costs for the coming year.
That is our portion, Mr. Chairman, with our partners. It has been very lucrative for a lot of reasons. The relationship with the Eastern Band is very important, as we've found out over the years. And so this is our portion of that. There will be no change in the budget. This will come out of the, as Tommy said, out of his fund balance for economic development.
Is there a motion?
Yes, sir, that is a motion. We take the funds, $12,500, to support the Niquosia Initiative. Those funds will be taken from the EDC General Fund.
Reserve fund.
That's right.
All right. We have a motion by Commissioner Bill.
Second.
Got a second by Commissioner Shields. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
General fund. General fund.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Not his reserve fund. It's Tommy's reserve fund was tapping there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Tommy.
Thank you, Tom.
Appreciate you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank Tom.
All right.
All right, item 11D, request to add 2 child welfare positions during fiscal year 18-19. Patrick Betancourt, Director of Social Services. Welcome,
Chairman.
Patrick.
I've been remiss in the past couple of times that I've been up before you that I didn't recognize my board chair, Lisa Leatherman. She's here again tonight to lend support to the
Lisa, you're an
department, so
active person.
Thank you, Lisa, for showing up. This is a request to add 2 positions. The request is based on 3 occurring issues that we have at the moment. Significant workload demands for our child welfare staff, ever-increasing case complexity that these staff are dealing with, and the third being overcoming the, I'll be polite and call them inefficiencies of the current case management system that child welfare is having to work in. That we've been a pilot for the past year now. It's been about probably 6 years since we've been before you to ask for any child welfare positions on the child protective services side of child welfare. At this time, our current CPS workers are carrying a caseload of about 20 cases each. That fluctuates from day to day, depending on how many new reports come in. But that's well over the 15 caseload recommendation from the state.
That's
This
just-
commission did.
That's just this county.
That's just in this county alone. They are, just in this county alone, just to give you an idea of where we've come from since the last time we added a position in CPS. Back in 11 and 12, we were taking somewhere in the neighborhood of about 459 reports a year. We're now up to about 630 reports. It's a 37% increase. At that time, we were doing around 220 investigations. We're now up to 331. We've taken 32 children into custody this past fiscal year, compared to the 11 that were taken into custody back in state fiscal year 12. So we've seen an increase across the board in almost every area of child welfare. We currently have, we do have some money in our budget for these positions. If we assume a start date for these positions of April 1st, the 2 positions would cost $28,765. We could expect roughly about $4,000 of reimbursement from the state for those positions. That's for this state fiscal year only. The case complexity you've heard me speak about before, we're seeing cases now somewhere in the neighborhood of about 85 to 90% of the cases that our child welfare staff work involve some form of substance abuse. They almost always, if they have substance use going on, they also involve some pretty significant mental health needs. Both parents as well as children have those mental health ongoing needs. And in almost every single case we work, there is some type of family violence. So the need for intervention in these families' lives is great. It's not short-term, and it's fairly intense. North Carolina is experiencing what we refer to as a child welfare workforce crisis. So there are directors across the state that are standing up in front of their commissions asking for the exact same thing, explaining the exact same issues, that these cases are very difficult, they're very long-term lasting, and they are burning our staff out at a tremendous rate. I explained when I spoke with our liaison about this a couple of weeks ago, explained that at current Macon County Department of Social Services is looking that we could lose somewhere in the neighborhood of about 3 of our child welfare staff. They have made it known that they are feeling a little fried, a little burned out on what they're doing. So we would like to be able to get them some relief. We hope that these positions will be approved, and I can talk a little while about the inefficiencies of the case management system, but I don't want to dwell on that aspect. I'll just leave it with you to say that it's the same system we implemented for economic services back in 07, and it's a decent system for managing eligibility determination for Medicaid and FNS benefits. It is not designed as a case management for child welfare. You're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. And so there's been a pretty large amount of frustration and increased demands for workload as a result of this case management system. So it'd be our request that we would be able to advertise for these positions.
So Patrick, let me wrap my head back around it.
Sure.
You've got 2 positions now, and so you're going to be doubling.
No, we currently have 5 CPS positions and 4 foster care positions, so we have a total of 9.
Okay, and you said they're handling roughly 20 cases each.
20 cases each.
And they should be
correct.
handling productively 15.
15.
So that's how you're coming up with your 2 positions based upon that 5 times 5 is 25, which I think that makes sense. So numbers wise, okay.
Mr. Chairman, this is also, I'm the liaison to the DSS, and the reason this is so important is twofold. Number one, we're talking about children in Macon County, number one. The most at-risk children you could possibly imagine. And talking with Mr. Betancourt, and you go meet with these folks that do this every day, there's not many thank yous come their way. You heard him say that we had possibility of 3 leaving. And we would hope that with the addition of these new folks, that would give them some relief, if you will, that they would continue to stay on. I'm not so sure any of us sitting around this table could do the job that they do, if you see what they do every day. But most, Mr. Chairman, you're talking about children. These are Macon County children. And the caseloads and the situations they in, if you're privy to that information, we're not talking about Raleigh, we're not talking about Charlotte, we're talking about where we live. And those situations are just, enough said about that. The bottom line is we're to the point in our DSS and child welfare services, we got to have more people. We're going to really be in a bind, Mr. Chairman. So with that, I'll make a motion that we approve $28,000 to secure these, to let Mr. Betancourt advertise for these positions in hopes that they'll be filled rather quickly,
Emphasis on the hope.
We'll have a motion by Commissioner Bill.
And that money's going to come from where?
Well, that's what I was gonna ask.
Did you say you found your money?
We've got
money.
we've
Well,
got
they-
lab
They don't
salary.
need money.
Yeah.
They've got the money.
Right, we've
It's
got
just
the-
approving the 2 positions.
Yes.
We just need to-
We will see it again.
Yeah, next year you'll be funding them fully except for the
I figure we're going to get into that in the
Offset would be a
discussion if
little
we
bit
get a second on this motion.
Found the money this year, you'll find it next year. It's a good manager.
You heard that, Patrick.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bill, we have a second by Commissioner Shields. Discussion. Mr. Manager, how's that going to affect you moving forward? I understand this is just basically a done deal, we've got to do it.
Yeah,
But how
we will
is
just,
it going to affect you moving forward?
we will just plan forward in the budget process and fit it as best we can. We are gonna have some, moving forward with the courthouse security thing. There are gonna be some significant increases to the operating budget in fiscal year 20. So it'll just be putting the approved expenses in there and trying to find the revenue to match those.
And in fairness, we don't know exactly what the state's going to do. The state, I don't know if they recognize the problem or not, but they do know it's a problem. Meeting with the secretary, she certainly knows there's a problem, especially in the rural counties. So we don't know if there's gonna be appropriation of more funds for these folks, and will it be reoccurring, or will it be a one-time, you know, if you look at the numbers, Patrick, it's not gonna go down.
We certainly have put the ask in to DHHS and Secretary Cohen as well as Deputy Secretaries that there be some significant review of the impact of not just the caseload size, but the system that's supporting those caseworkers as well as the ongoing work to see if there's any possibility for.
We will be meeting with them on Friday. This will certainly be a topic of discussion.
Any further questions or discussion? It's imperative, Patrick, it's a shame in a way.
It is a shame. I agree.
All right. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I need a bathroom break. Had too much
All right.
coffee.
Let's take a 5-minute recess.
Yes, sir. Probably.
What is your field
Well, mostly local government, my background is heavy civil litigation.
Did you do your civil work somewhere else?
No, here.
Really? So preponderance of the evidence. That's good.
The greater one.
You know, I was interested.
Two more. Two more items.
Items on the agenda.
No, that's where your discussion will come up.
Okay. I don't know.
It's under 11F.
I don't know if there's any reason. I just figured
hang
I'd
out.
come and hang out.
I may call on you.
I'm starting to pay attention. I'm gonna start coming to most of these because I think I'm gonna run at some point.
Yeah. Where you Byron? Yeah. Does a good service for our community.
Yesterday, a couple of songs. It's nice to sit in with y'all and see how I mean, I love Macon County.
Where's your home? Where? You said you've been here before.
Yeah, I started out. I was raised in over in Camden, town, about 60 miles east of Jackson, about 80 miles west of Nashville, right where second time, right in there, those bluffs, Benton County, it's like a shoe. So anyhow, I-40 truck stop is big. I-20, my mark is 120.
I'm trying to remember, there's a little place, I may be thinking more of in Jackson, but I took a motorcycle ride, not this past week, out that way, actually all the way out across Utah. We came back through there, and there's one whale of a nice right around Jackson. I'm trying to think of the name of it. It's escaped me right now, but it's right.
Yes, you know around Dixon.
Okay, good.
It's around Dixon, just outside Nashville. I've heard it. Or did you take A40? It's not going to come out here.
This was west. Things over on the hill.
Dixon's the first little.
I appreciate you going.
The West is actually fitting to the parameters of the law. So.
Don't tell me you're trying to be long about it.
He's got Matt. It's really awesome testimony.
Look at my cat.
When I decided
Finally.
It's been 2 years, hasn't it?
come into agreement
You know those little carports that you get?
building department, health department, all that. Within a week, a $49,000 check showed up.
You told me.
I mean, it was like within a week.
You told me that.
So, you know, I had some hard work to do with the Lord, and I had to, you know, okay.
They win?
Yeah, I understand that we all, so I'm trying to approach
We got beat last night too.
different measure now.
How old are you?
32.
You got a lot of going down, man. I mean, you're good. You're good.
I was wondering because half of Highlands was up there. A couple of the players had walked in as I was leaving over at Smoky.
But you got the right mind, the right mission.
Okay. Yeah, well, that makes sense.
I think I'm going to start attending more of these
He
meetings. I think I'm going to actually
just being with his dad. He practices with the team all summer and stuff. So
Yeah.
sometime soon.
Well, that makes sense.
I don't know.
I flew over there.
We beat our Ethan's team, JV team. They beat Cherokee and Highland. Beat us over there last night. So
You working hard?
Yeah. When did y'all's conference tournament start?
I frame houses in Highlands. I work full time. I run ministry full time.
Yeah, we don't start until next Monday again, so we're off for a while. With the end of the season with a loss, the boys ain't
It's really cool right now. I'm watching a lot of guys, a lot of people that have come through our program.
I didn't realize.
Are
Did you
actually
watch the high school play?
Yes.
Are able to step in and actually take some of the burden off of them. So it's really.
I've not saw them
really
play
awesome
since
to
the
watch.
summer. We that are unbelievable. We scrambled them.
We played the first game of the season.
And we played them early, or we played them in the summer, and it was awful. I mean, it was a blowout on JV and varsity. They're going to be really good these days.
Helping. There's going to be here soon. There's going to be multiple different ministries that are launching out of the
They're going to be good.
Yeah, they are.
People that came watching
All these kids grow up.
found their position in the Lord and actually have a heart's cry for this community. And they're going to launch things that are going to be beneficial for our community.
Are you living over there? Ready to roll?
Yeah, so I have I have a little parsonage downstairs.
2 items.
And then everything else.
You couldn't see me waving when you were
There's no shelter.
I didn't see you.
I would like to put it
For now. I mean, like I said, I'm fitting in the parameters.
Just holler at me next time, Chris.
It's working fine, but I can't expand.
Thank you for taking care of Scaly too. I got like literally three emails, people thanking me for
approach.
You know how many I got?
None.
I was actually irritated. I'm like, dude, where are all these people? I mean, come on.
Into the city sewer.
Give you I got to catch up with you too on
I'll be able to do a lot more in that. I think at this
down the road.
point, the county can recognize that I'm not just come and go, gentlemen, fizzle out kind of thing, and that I'm actually here for the duration to really
How many guys you got?
make an impact in the program, in the community. We stay full. I got 32 people all the time, full, all the time. Right now there's 17 kids.
I got the better end of that deal.
17 kids in our building. I stay slap packed full. There's people waiting. I get phone calls every day.
What's the average period of that station?
Well, it all depends because we're very Christ oriented. So people come in that don't want to change their life, they don't stay very long. There are people that are actually at a point where they want their life to change and are willing to go through the work and the hard work and the struggles to get out of that stuff. I've got people there that have been there for a long time, and they have the ability to move out on their own, but they don't feel like they're done receiving what the Lord has for them. And then I have people that come in and stay for a day and want to go. It just all depends on whether they're actually committed to see their life turn around. But every opportunity is there for them. I can get them a job. We help them get their licenses and all their stuff worked out. It's just whether they want to do it or not.
All right, I'm gonna call us back to order.
Keep me straight.
All right, under new business, item 11E, approval of solid waste interlocal agreement with Clay County, and then
Oh, am I done?
you were up, and then I think you've got
You've
got 3 items.
Three or four items.
You've got 3 items.
Mr. Chairman, on that
Go
note,
ahead.
if we could, a couple late additions. If we could add item number E, or 11E2, which, or 11, I guess it'll be 11E1, which would be convenience center improvements, transport equipment, and then 11E2 would be recycling processing center, repair and improvements. I apologize.
Does anybody have any issue with that? Speak up. Go ahead, Mr.
Well, and gentlemen, I apologize. On one of these, we literally opened the bids yesterday, and on the other, we knew about it, but we didn't know we were going to get the check until after the agenda packets had gone out.
Let's do the interlocal agreement first.
So I believe in your packets was a copy of an interlocal agreement between Macon and Clay County for Macon County to provide some landfill gas monitoring services to Clay County. I was approached some time ago from Clay in regards to our process, how we monitored, what equipment we used, as they were under the gun to start monitoring their closed landfill. And basically what it came down to is I made the offer to them to just have us do it for them. It's one sampling event per quarter, which matches our sampling event. They only have 7 wells. It's a few hours of work. Not a huge time commitment or anything that would conflict with our needs. And so basically, the benefit to Clay County is they wouldn't have to buy this $15,000 meter. The benefit to us is through the 4 sampling events, we would bring in $1,000, which is the cost annually to keep our monitor in compliance with factory calibrations and servicings. So that's
$1,000 a year, Chris?
Yes.
Yeah, it'd be for sampling.
How many hours are you expecting this to take, you guys?
Literally, it'll obviously the drive over there and back will probably take longer than the sampling, and driving from well to well will take longer than the sampling. So you're probably looking at 3 hours max.
It's about $80 an hour.
Can we get a motion to approve the interlocal agreement?
We'll make sure I pass out a resolution with a copy of the revised interlocal agreement. The agenda package had the first draft.
Okay.
Chris had asked me
So it's different.
to do a few little changes to it.
Okay.
Motion approved, Mr. Chairman.
Got a motion by Commissioner Higgenden.
Second.
Got a second by Commissioner Shields. All in favor?
How long is this good for?
Sorry, got one discussion question.
Yeah, it's a 3-year that is automatically renewable. However, either party may, upon notice to the other, terminate it.
So if you're saying it's costing you too much money, you'll pull the plug?
Or either amend it, one of the two.
Yeah, I mean, if they added a bunch of wells or added sampling events, I don't want to take the time to go into all the things that
Who does the
could go.
paper? You have to do the paperwork, right?
Well, we will simply provide them with the results and analysis of the monitoring.
Let them.
What happens from there is between them and the state.
Gotcha.
And whatever consultant they we're limiting it just to the taking the sample.
I think it's been a good neighbor.
And you do it quarterly?
Quarterly, yes, sir.
$250 a quarterly.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's take that vote again. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you, Chris. Okay, let's move on to item E1, the convenience
I think I might
center
have given y'all all.
improvements, transportation equipment.
There you go.
Did you hand out all your copies?
I think I did. Okay, transport equipment. that where we're at? As we've talked a great deal, we are in year one of what I hope will be a continuing multi-year process to renovate, update, better our convenience centers. We have slated 2 for this year. The funds to do these projects exist in the approved budget. And so step 1 is to bring in the equipment. As you may know, you may occasionally get a phone call. If we close a center, it's sort of a catastrophe in the nearby area. So we wanted to try to expedite as much as possible getting this equipment in, because I want the equipment to be sitting on the ground before we go out, not necessarily bid, but before we go out to contract to get this work done, so that the centers, there's as little disruption as possible at the centers. What you'll see in the packet is four different bid items. The first is a stationary compactor. It's 2 compactors that will be utilized at the Carson Center once that redesign is complete. And then also item 2, which are the 8 recycling containers. Those will also be utilized at Carson. The Junaluska compactors, and if you guys want to see any of these, I have the pamphlets and whatnot on these compactors. The Junaluska compactors will sort of serve 2 purposes. We will utilize them at a temporary site while we close Carson, and then once Carson's reopened, we will begin construction at Junaluska, and that's when these containers will be put, not permanently in place because they're self-contained and portable, but and then finally, item 4 is for a container for Junaluska. As well, y'all may not know, but we sort of let some things go on at Junaluska or in Nantahala and Scaly that we don't in Franklin, because of the remoteness and the distance to travel to the landfill. And one of those things is to accept white goods and metal. And the other is to accept scrap tires. At present, these kind of just get cast somewhere on the site. We do have a 40-yard container for scrap metal, but if you look at the last page, the last drawing is a container we want to put at Junaluska, mostly to containerize the scrap tires and keep the rainwater out of them, mitigate any issues with mosquitoes and whatnot. The other benefit to that site is, much like all the others I want to redesign, it will be a 1-level site. Everything will be on, no more handrails, no more ramps, no more all this stuff. And just while we're going through them, we just want to get in compliance as much as possible. Having those tires just out on the ground is it's not illegal, because convenience centers currently aren't permitted, but this will be a better way. We will also eliminate the recycling trailers at centers that we redo, using the semi-vans as recycling containers. These will be accessed, again, from ground level, from either side, much like you would see at Buck Creek or Holly Springs. So what you see, we had 3 respondents. Not everyone responded to all categories. I have highlighted the lowest bid and see no reason not to accept the lowest bid for these containers. And so I would just ask the board to approve this, what'd you call it, Lindsay? I want to say it right.
Were these advertised bids?
Mm-hmm.
Formal level?
Formal.
I think you'd need to award the bid to the lowest responsible bidder, taking into consideration the
I need someone would back me up on the proper line.
and then further authorize the county to proceed with securing a contract for these items so approved in accordance with the specifications advertised, and authorize your county manager to execute the same.
Can we get a motion stating the same?
Did a good job. I make a motion supporting that.
Thank you.
A motion, we get a second. We got a motion by Commissioner Higdon, second by Commissioner
And-
Shields.
Just a couple of questions. What's your time? I gave you my documents. What's your timeline on Carson first?
Yes.
And Junaluska? What
Second.
timeline do you?
The recycling containers will be built to my specifications, so they're probably going to take about 3 months. The compactors shouldn't take that long, so I would hope in April to complete the bidding or awarding process for the construction at these centers, with the anticipation of doing completing Carson in the April to early May range, and then getting Junaluska wrapped up by the end of the fiscal year.
So you're gonna do that at Apple Tree, and the other, in Junaluska, the convenience center at the school exit, whatever that road's called there.
The school site?
Yeah, the school site.
Well, again, I'm hoping as funding is available, and I want to continue this through all the centers, and my goal is to do a sort of a enclosed, higher level, busier center, like Carson, Highlands Road. Not really Otto, there's not much I can do down there, but get one of those, and then also get one of the remote centers each year with the school site, Scaly, and Holly Springs, sort of in some order.
But you're doing Junaluska first?
Yes. And part of that is, part of that really relates to the flooding we had there last year. We lost, we had to get rid of our building because it was growing mold, and so in part of doing the updating is to also take into account, because we're not going to have ramps and all taking up all this room and stuff. My goal is to sort of build a central island of use through the center. Also, part of my plan is to create a new exit out the back of the center so that we don't have to account for traffic in both directions. And that will allow us to kind of bring the usable area to high ground, and so if we do experience flooding, hopefully that will stay to the periphery where it doesn't impact us.
Does the county own that side, or is that part of that lease?
It's leased.
Part of the lease, the Rec Park lease?
Yes,
or-
sir.
And you have permission to do improvements?
I have permission in theory to do the improvements, working on permission to do the new exit.
Chris, compared to Jackson County, by the way, we've got many people going to Jackson County to recycle their stuff. Jackson County just passed a $500 fee if they catch you from Macon County putting stuff into their dumpsters, and several Maconians have received that call. We did meet with Jackson County Chairman of their board. So what, you see what they have, you put all the paper in one, it's just so easy. So why can't we do that?
Well, we actually talked about this
All right,
once
before we get off
before.
key, let's take a vote on this last, please, before we start on a new
Well,
set.
this has everything to do with
Can we
my
get a
vote.
motion?
The answer to the question has everything to do with my vote. Do we need
Does it?
this kind of container?
Let's talk about it then.
Let me say, relating back to these containers, most specifically Junaluska. Adding compactor units to centers is a huge win for the county. They'll hold about 3 times the waste of an open top. Plus, you don't have the wind blown, et cetera. It looks better, et cetera, et cetera. I have never really considered putting compactor units at our remote centers, because we only pull those centers once a week, and that has to do with, again, mosquitoes and bees and flies. Item 3 or 4, whichever one it was, 3. The compactors that I would put at Junaluska and the other remote centers are actually a dual chamber compactor. Just started seeing these a couple years ago. So they would still be pulled once a week, but because we don't need that much room, one side of that compactor would be used for waste, and the other side would be used for commingled recycling at our remote centers. Segue from that to your question, why don't we do that everywhere? Is simply a matter of cost versus reward. We earn 250 to 400,000. It'll probably be a day or two before we get to 400,000 again, but we earn about $250,000 plus or minus. I mean, I think 250 is pretty low end a year on the sale of commodities. If we go to single stream, and this is what Jackson County and all the other people that have gone to single stream, if we were to go to single stream, there would be some savings. As you know, my department is not very labor heavy as far as a portion of my budget. We don't have a lot of folks. There's a lot of expenses, but it's not payroll. So there wouldn't be a lot of savings in managing the recycling single stream versus source separated, which is how we do it. But we would absolutely forfeit any revenue. If you throw it all in one basket and send it to somebody, and there's a place in Asheville, there's a place in Charlotte, but you're looking at best net zero, and some places are charging $5 and $10 a ton just to accept those recycling commodities. So that's why we don't do it, is because we are not set up to handle it single stream, and so we would just have to pack it in a truck and send it down the road, and we would lose the revenue, but we would not offset that with $250,000 in savings. And there's a frequent argument, and I'm not discounting it. I don't think it's giving you the full picture. There's a decent argument about people will recycle more if they can just throw it in one place, and that's probably true. Data I've seen is maybe a 20% increase, but what they won't tell you and what nobody ever talks about is the result on the back end. How much of that is contaminated to the point that 25 or 30% of that winds up going back into someone else's landfill. Glass and shredded paper are just impossible, even in a $50 million state-of-the-art facility, to keep from contaminating your paper and your commodities of some value, which is a very short list today. But that's why we have stuck with source separation. If we were a county that didn't do much recycling and we were just going to start a program, obviously I would advocate, let's go single stream and just kind of let it do its thing. We have a substantial program built, and while I'm certain there are those that don't utilize us because they have to source separate.
They're not going to be utilizing Jackson County.
I don't think they're going to be going to Jackson County.
Well, unless they take the labels off everything.
But that's, I mean, does that explain?
Have you talked to Jackson County? Does it cost them money?
I haven't talked to them lately about it. I mean, I know
it's so much easier for the customer, like you said.
Right. Well, and I'm hoping, I mean, if you look at going to Carson or Iola versus going to Otto or Buck Creek or Holly Springs, where you have the containers, you're not sidling down this dark hallway. The containers are open, and the design that I want to utilize will really open the centers up a lot. As you know, anybody that lives out towards Carson community, it's not uncommon to have traffic stopped in both directions decent way down the road. When we did this at Buck Creek, which was set up identical to Carson, just a smaller footprint, we could hold 3 cars before we were in the road. At Carson, we can probably hold 5 or 6 before we're in the road. At Buck Creek now, we can hold 12 vehicles before we're in the road. And there's multiple points for users to be doing their thing at the same time, and not be in each other's way if they're only doing trash or only doing recycling. So that's what we want to mimic at the other centers. And do it, frankly, doing away with the ramps and all the space that's taken up and having a two-level center is going to help us out a lot without increasing our footprint.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, in connection with the lowest responsible bidder, would recommend that you have the minutes reflect and identify that lowest responsible bidder.
May I give some candid feedback on recycling?
Is it pertinent to this vote?
It's pertinent to what he's talking about. I'm passionate about recycling. I've been in manufacturing, and I've been in all facets of manufacturing, different materials, plastic, wood, metal. I'm currently serving as a EHS manager for Shaw Industries in 2 facilities, Bryson City and Franklin, North Carolina. The facility that I use for my personal use is the one that's down there on the south side of town going towards Auto. It's over there by the Volunteer Auto Fire Department, and it's a great facility. I like it. I can pull in to the side, take my bags that I have, that I use, put my plastic in. I have 2 trash cans at home, grab my plastic, put it on the table. I can bust it out and throw it in the bin that I need to throw it in. It's very convenient, very user-friendly.
Thank you.
All right. All in favor with Chester's suggested change?
Do we need to say out loud the names, or just make sure she?
I think it's reported in your presentation. I just think they need to be pulled from that presentation and included in the minutes.
This one highlighted, right, Chris? Baker?
Yes. Baker's Waste for the compactors and Waste Quip for the recycling containers.
Are you still going to stay on the convenience center?
I can stay on Convenience Center to talk to you about what you want to talk about, or we can go to the last one, which is the RPC, and come back.
All right, I'm still missing some votes on this. Yeah.
But let's wrap this one.
All right. Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Do you have a question you want to address before we get on to the next one with him?
Something to do with convenience center, but I don't know if it's appropriate.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Great presentation, great document. I haven't had a chance to read it, I don't have a copy. Could we get something worked up like that? James spoke earlier. 20 years ago, we started the staffing of convenience centers.
Yes, sir.
We did it on part-time employees, keep them under a certain number of hours. No benefits.
Right.
Porta-johns.
In most places.
It was set up kind of as a temporary thing, is what I interpreted 20 years ago, until we could figure out a better way to do it. We figured out a better way. I was shocked and aghast that we have one employee making $7.50 an hour.
We actually have 8.
8 employees, Macon County employees, making $7.50 an hour. I've never been a strong advocate for spending government money, but that's a disgrace. These people are the face of Macon County. They meet 1,000, 1,500 people.
Yes.
And I've never had a bad experience with any of them. And
I agree.
We can do better. $7.50 an hour.
I wholeheartedly agree.
I don't know what.
Been embarrassed by it, but
I know we're on a budget, and I don't like to do mid-year spending and all that, but can we get some sort of recommendation or something that's equitable?
Would that come out of your enterprise fund? Wouldn't that be? That's
Everything's
the enterprise fund, right?
But you gotta have revenue to support it. You don't wanna take fund balance to support ongoing
No.
salaries, because he has a fund balance.
Well,
on the general fund.
we raised the tipping fee, 4 years ago?
But see, he had to appropriate fund balance though this year to achieve some of the projects, so at this point, I mean, you don't really have excess revenues.
we don't. And Paul, did I hand you something that I didn't hand anybody else?
I have no clue. I've got 3 days worth of reading. I'm supposed to read in 5 minutes.
I'm going to give you that. I'm giving you that because you asked for it. I will make a fuller presentation on it. There are some pieces of this. I started looking into it, obviously, when you asked. There are some proposals. There's some ideas as to what we might could do. There's 2 pieces. There's 2 pieces of this that I haven't I haven't been able to complete, but I am happy to come back and make a presentation to the full board regarding recommendations. Short of that, I'm happy to include them into my budget package for next year.
Well, I'd say you come back next month and tell us, I mean, these folks, this is horrendous.
I agree.
And our collection rate on the fees
And
is,
that goes into the two things I have not been able to accomplish yet.
we gotta address that. 75%, is that what you're estimating?
I don't know if Derek or someone, I didn't have time to get by the tax office to get an updated list. Basically, what Paul and I had discussed is, as a potential means to pay for such a thing, et cetera. We have a couple of holes in the enterprise fund. One of which is the ad valorem compliance rate. You all get reports on. It's usually 97, 98 plus. But if you look at the compliance rate for solid waste fees, it may be 20 points lower. And so that means that there's a lot of people out there that are paying all but that last $95. A couple of things. One, I did go through our ordinance.
Do we know why that is? Because it's a lien on the property, just like the other.
The step one is no utility fees, with the exception of solid waste fees, can fall under the Machinery Act. Solid waste fees can. And if so long as you have it in your ordinance that says you intend to do it that way. We do have it in our ordinance. I mean, I don't want to say why it's happening because I don't know. It's not.
Doesn't matter. Let's just fix it.
But the bottom line is, it turns out to be a couple $100,000 short of where.
That might be 10 years worth of money. Is that what you're talking about, the past 10 years? Or
No, I'm talking about 8.
Because looking at Teresa's January report, regular taxes were 95 1/4. Your landfill fees were 91.12.
Well, we're doing much better.
So,
the last time I looked at it, it was like in the 70s. So not as many people are taking that option. Another thing that I would introduce, if I can remember who told me they did this. I've got feelers out, but nobody's replied. There are some counties that have adopted a resolution that says if people make a partial payment to what they owe the county, that those payments would be applied to everything else and ad valorem taxes last. Building permit fees, social services, health department, any kind of fee that the county has that doesn't have the protections that Chester was referencing with the policing powers, the Machinery Act to go after. The monies be applied to that so that anything that is left unowed kind of stays in that one place, easy identifiable in the ad valorem tax column. Tax departments don't really like that because they want that first number to stay up there.
Right.
Let's take this on and work on it. We can do that. We can do a lot.
We want to discuss this again at our next meeting. Is that good, Mr. Manager?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. All right, moving along, our recycling center, processing center, repair and improvements.
Okay. Finally, and again, I apologize, we did not know we were going to get the check until after the agenda was put together. But some months ago, our building was struck. There are a couple of pages of pictures of in the back of this, if you want to reference those. It actually took me several months to get anyone to price repairs because of the nature of the buildings. You have to have an engineer certify and stamp the weight load on every cross member and upright and everything, and nobody wants to put all the money into developing a proposal that they might not be awarded. So we finally did get a proposal, and you'll see that in front of the pictures. But I asked for, when we got the proposal, I asked for 3 different proposals. 2 of those I've included in your packet. One of those is for a repair, just to put this building back together. You can see you can see the column that's mostly damaged, and we have shored it up temporarily to keep the roof from collapsing. We did have a structural engineer and Mr. Morgan come and inspect and sort of give a nodding of heads that we could be in this area with this temporary repair. The building has continued to fall slowly. Some of the welds are breaking loose, and we're going to try to attack that. So the first bid was to put this thing back, but the second one was to demolish this building and continue the front addition. If you look at the first page of pictures, in the top left, you'll see that's actually two buildings perpendicular to each other and just kind of stuck together. And so removal of this back part of the building and extension of the front building all the way out the back was the second quote that I requested, and frankly is my recommended course of action. If you looking at the pictures, well, first of all, this back building is actually not so much of a building you would work out of as a place you would store hay. And I've also come to learn through talking to different contractors and different structural engineers about this process, or about trying to get determine a fix for this process. Every nut, bolt, and piece of sheeting on this thing goes into its structural soundness. So the very fact that we pulled this wall off 25 years ago to attach this other building to it already diminished its structural capacity. So secondly, because these two buildings are just kind of mated together, you can see what's happening to our mixed paper.
Who hit the post?
A driver for our contracted hauler.
So they got insurance?
Yeah. Did I not say that part?
Nope.
So Lori may or may, do you have?
Budget amendments, yeah.
Lori has a budget amendment here that part one of the budget amendment is to increase our budget $42,466, and then to appropriate that, to accept that revenue, and then to appropriate that into capital improvements towards the repairs on this building.
Would that cover the repair?
No, then there's another, I just did one amendment.
Right.
Pass that down if you'll recall.
The repairs are
$125,000 he would take from his enterprise fund balance to try to have
the actual repair. The repair price was $41,331. I'm sure that's why you're asking that question. It was basically a negotiated settlement.
Has the county passed on that?
Passed what?
Passed on the acceptance of that settlement?
We got a check. I don't know.
People do the check cover the damage.
I mean, if it's a negotiated settlement,
they made an offer.
The county should pass on it.
Yeah, let's take that money.
Probably never been in a wreck, Chris.
Fortunately, I have not.
So they hit the building and made an offer. The insurance company made an offer. We took the money.
Understand that this proposal is shaky at best. I mean, I went through 4 or 5 companies even to get this, and there are a lot of assumptions.
I ain't talking about the proposal. I'm talking about the check.
Well, I'm
From the
saying
insurance
the
company.
check was based on what they saw in their proposal.
But yet we need another $125,000.
No. In your package, you'll see there's 2 proposals. A repair proposal in the amount of $49,331. I just don't want to repair the building. If we repair it, we still have a less than adequate building. We still have 3 posts that are constantly going to get hit. And you can see the one that's bad, but the other 2 have certainly been hit through the years. This valley drain that rains in the building, if it's raining outside, there are just a lot of problems with this building. And like Paul mentioned earlier, it was kind of a, let's do it 25 years ago, and with the amount of materials that we're processing now and need to store and trying to ship, it's just insufficient, even from a safety factor, as I have learned.
Chris, excuse me, did
Yes,
you
sir.
get multiple bids on the new building?
No, I have not. What we're doing tonight is an approval of concept to replace the building rather than repair the building, and to appropriate these funds into my budget. If y'all say no, just fix it, that's what we'll do. I just don't think that's the best course.
I guess my question, Chris, is why are we appropriating funds before we've received a price? We're just giving you a budget to go work with, is what we're saying?
It's just, I mean, I can come back at the end. I mean, I'm sure I will. But
It's just not our normal process, and here's why I'm asking, so.
it's just trying to save a step. I mean, obviously, we would go through all the proper bid procedures and get a price. But again, we get into this catch-22 of circular logic that I was in for months. I'm not going to give you a price because that's going to cost several thousand dollars.
Did you have a plan for them to bid on?
Sorry?
Did you have a plan for the folks to bid on?
No, we have not. I mean, I don't know. I'm assuming this based on anecdotal evidence that this building might have been constructed by county folk back in the day. We don't know.
I'm not back for the new building.
No, that's part of the proposal, is to engineer and construct an extension of the existing building. Now, we do know who built the new section, so it would be, obviously, we would hope to get a favorable bid from them because they've got everything on hand. And if you also look, I have exceeded, which is neither here nor there, but I have exceeded the difference amount by $40,000, I think, somewhere in that neighborhood. One of those is wiggle room, but the other is Macon County would be responsible for soil bearing testing. A structural engineer is going to say this size column holding this size building is going to take this much footer. But then if we get into actually checking the soil, this much footer may become this much footer. Looking at the picture on the bottom right, you can see the current rear corner of the building and where the pad and foundation are moving in separate directions at separate speeds. So I am concerned a little bit about the structural compaction. Also, because I know the history of how that land came to be. It used to be a hog lagoon. So, I wouldn't want to make a whole lot of assumptions about the soil bearing tests.
I understand where you're coming from now, Chris, and I think that based upon, I agree with your recommendation that you need a new building over replacement, and I understand why, and I think long-term it'll help the county and probably eliminate the problem that we're talking about now. If you can eliminate those center beams. I personally think would like to see a little bit more information. I understand time is of the essence with you. Let's try and just knock this out the appropriate
And like I said,
way we normally do.
I mean, obviously, I put a number, it's on the thing, we can change that. What I was really looking for was a nodding of heads in concept of going one way versus the other. I'm happy to get you firm numbers and report.
Am I the only one that's seen it that way?
Oh, I think this building's rotten. It leaks. You can't have a leaking building.
Okay, so we're giving you a nod of heads.
Okay.
But now the funding for this is explain how the transfer.
We received $42,466 from insurance proceeds, so we would appropriate that. And then he's also asking to appropriate $125,000 of this solid waste fund balance.
My fund
From
balance.
his
fund
balance, which right now sits at $2
million.
$2 million.
Which we've appropriated about $657, so you back that off, so about 1.4.
Yeah,
So
If we would use every penny of it, which he usually
back
does.
to the insurance check. So we got the check.
We got the money.
Who negotiated the settlement with the insurance company?
They made an offer, and I said, "Yeah, let's get it while we can."
Mr. Manager, you wasn't part of that at all? Whenever I hit something, I had to pay for it.
Was that in-house? Was that one of our guys, or?
That hit it? No.
No.
What is there, about $5,000 difference between the repair estimate
I was wondering
and
if
the
it was
payment?
deductible or
Probably,
tax.
our deductible is $5,000.
Yeah.
Plus
Oh,
tax.
okay. So
They don't, insurance companies don't pay tax, so they're.
was it the
tax was not possible.
driver's carrier that paid that? Okay.
So the repair estimate's $49,000, they settled at $42,500, so.
I think the bottom line is it probably was not a bad settlement. I mean, the reality of it is when those things are done, they don't look at it necessarily and value it necessarily as a repair cost. They look at it from the
We've got
standpoint-
100% replacement cost on all of our buildings, including that one.
That's our insurance though.
Yeah.
It's not, that's,
But I mean,
that's not the
but if
the
you
driver's
have,
company.
but isn't it true that if their insurance company, if we got 100%, they what they have to abide by?
Yeah.
They should.
Insurance company.
The reality is if he was getting pushback from them, he could not have litigated this claim for the $5,000 difference. So,
Yeah, but you'd have had a better bid than $49,000 too. If it done that much damage, if it loosened all the screws, if the structural engineer said it totaled the whole building, and that's what it says in here, you'd have had a whole lot more than $49,000.
well,
Well,
you
keeping
got
in
somebody
mind,
that says they're gonna fix it for
there have, if you look at these things, these columns have taken numerous hits.
Yeah.
The fact that this one was the one that finally weakened it enough to do
And
real
that's the way
damage.
the carrier is gonna evaluate it. They're gonna look at that building not as if it was a brand-new, perfect building. They're gonna look at it in a depreciated state. And if it was already beat down pretty bad, they're not gonna pay you to put it back perfect and brand new. They're just not gonna do that.
It's not how we got here, it's where we're going. So you're gonna bring us numbers on the new building,
Yes, sir.
and could you take us on a tour?
Absolutely.
As much as Bill Construction does over there, you don't need a tour.
All right, can we, I guess the budget amendment will change then. We need to get an approval to accept the budget amendment of the check of $42,466. And I'm understanding we're not going to provide we're not going to appropriate the fund balance until we get the bids in for the new building.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
Are we in agreement? Can I get a motion to that?
So moved,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Got a motion by Commissioner Higgins, a second by Commissioner Shields. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Chris. Thanks.
Thank you for this salary information.
Yeah, it'll be a good discussion next meeting. Gillespie, liaison to the Macon County Planning Board. Carl, I'll let you lead in unless you want me to.
Just make one brief comment. Everyone should have a list in their packet of items that were submitted by members of this board. And I thought that it would be appropriate that we discussed those items and prioritize them and give that whatever is the consensus of the board as being the most urgent or important item on the list to the planning board for them to continue their work.
Anybody want to go first? I guess I'll nominate myself. Nobody's quiet.
Well, I'm gonna vouch
Go
for
ahead,
Donna
Paul.
Ayla. I think it'd be a good use of a planning board to plan out improvements to the Ayla community. But that was just my submission. I'm not saying, hey, mine takes precedent, but
No, well, we want to talk, so,
we're gonna have to
We'll
have
just-
someone to take that lead on
and we
that.
can give them more than one task. It doesn't have to be one solely out of all these. I provided the one, which is number 2 on the list, was basically studying our homeless, low-income situation. I know Lowell's here tonight, and he deals with that. And Lowell, I think you mentioned to me the other day that you house 30, how many people do you house? Yeah, you step up. Yeah, just step up. Just a couple questions here. You house about how many people?
It's kind of a constant thing, but we stay full at around 32 people.
And you said you could double in capacity.
I could double the capacity.
But I understand
if
you
could
can't.
deal with the, I could deal with some other.
So you just,
issues.
my point is there's a really big, potentially big issue there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a huge issue in the county that kind of just gets swept over because most of the people that are homeless in this county they're not necessarily homeless, but because of the drug addiction issue, they're in drug houses where everybody pools their funds and their drugs together to come in and have somewhere to stay, or they're in tents in the woods, or they're in places where they're not out in the middle of town like it is in Asheville. And then you get a lot of people that are very low income that have there's no recourse for them, especially if they have a drug addiction problem or an alcohol problem. They kind of just get swept off to the side. And so right now I have 31 people in the house, 17 of which are children in our building. And it's a sad scenario in our county when the ability to actually impact these folks is difficult because there's so many different wheels in motion doing so many different things, and nobody actually wants to work together to accomplish the goal. I'm not actually. We don't run a homeless shelter. I run a life recovery program where I take people that might be homeless or alcoholics or drug addicts or have very serious issues with dealing with their money or whatever the scenario is that got them in that position, and try to help them eliminate the bad habits that got them there and apply positive habits that get them out of there. But we're treated, and everybody in the county and the town calls us a homeless shelter. And so we do deal with some of the homeless issues, but the homeless issue only happens because there's no other recourse. There's no other way to actually impact them, and so then they end up on the streets, and then the only people that want to talk to them are the ones that will do drugs with them. Or, there's one guy that walks around town with a sign that says, "I need beer money," and people will constantly hand him money all day to buy beer, and it's a sad state. It's a sad time in not only our county, but in the whole nation, where we feed those kind of problems. And so I, personally, and what me and my wife and my children have committed to do is to change that to the best of our ability with what we provide. So there's a lot of things that are said about us and a lot of opinions about what we do, because I'm not going to feed addiction, and I'm not going to feed alcoholism, and I'm not going to any part of it. And so people get mad when they have to leave because they don't want to actually change their life. But I run a life recovery program, and I've had over 500 people come through since we started. And I've been operating in this community for 5 years. The first part of it was kind of rocky between us and the county and the building department and all the stuff, but for the last couple of years we've been very compliant with the rules of the county. We've been compliant with the building department. We're trying our best to do what we can do to help impact this problem in our community. But it's a huge problem.
Right. Well, and I'm not saying, I don't even know if this is a task that the planning board would be up for, but I think it's an important consideration. I don't know who else in the county to necessarily send it to take a peek at it. I don't know, I mean, I hear your numbers, but I know there's other places in the county too.
The last time we did
Deal with
it,
it,
Healthy
some type of-
Carolinians did it. Of course, the Healthy Carolinians is gone now, but I'm sure the health department.
Of some type of, like,
There was a
what are we
statistic-
looking at number-wise? What are we looking at?
The comprehensive plan had that information. I think the last point in time collection was taken, that reference is in
It was
that
January
comprehensive
30th
plan.
is when they did the last one.
But that information is in that plan. And it seems to me like it was less than 70 in the draft of the comprehensive plan of actual homeless that were identified through it was the community health assessment.
Yes.
And again, I will double check that draft. That was just something that got at me as I was reading through that comprehensive plan the other night.
Sure. I think one thing we kind of need to bear in mind as we assign things to the planning board, they meet once a month. So, you know, you're getting an hour and a half, 2 hours, you know, how the meetings go after a couple hours. So 11, 12 times a year. So you should task them with something that's going to require more time than that.
Right.
They're going to really get bogged down. One item that's on here, the subdivision ordinance review, Jack, it's in the ordinance that the subdivision ordinance is to be reviewed every.
Well, it was originally every year. The way it is now, I'm supposed to report as administrator to the Board of Commissioners any problems we have with that ordinance, and at present, there's not any glaring problem with that.
Okay, so we probably can check the subdivision ordinance review off.
Yeah.
Okay. Just food for thought.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to see, I mean, we tasked this planning board with a comprehensive plan and a lot, but I'd like to see them do, I think there's an opportunity for the planning board to do some real planning. And I'd like to see them, whatever Commissioner Gillespie is he's the liaison, but to tie that in with our space needs study and our comprehensive plan, I think that planning board would give them an opportunity to have some real input and planning on what we're going to look like in 5 years and for our county buildings and different things. I just think the planning board would relish an opportunity to do some real planning that's going to mean something.
I think that that's an excellent idea, especially once we receive this space needs analysis, is to task them with reviewing that and providing us a recommendation. So,
what do you think, Court?
It's fine.
But that's not going to come through till September-ish, probably. You want to task them just based upon Commissioner Higdon's recommendation, to task them with glancing at the Nantahala stuff, and then we'll move forward to the space needs analysis following that. That'll give them 3 months to study.
So you're going to do
Community needs
Nantahala first
information
and
on Nantahala.
then
Is that- are y'all telling
What
me
is
is that
Nantahala
discussion,
encompass?
so-
What does that encompass?
Library, community building.
We did that
utilization.
6 years ago, so you can pull that back up and read it too. We did the library. That's when we thought we had a place for the library. I think that's, I don't know about the community building. We was going to tie it in with the school.
And utilization of the lease or the Duke property over there where the rec park is at. There's been this discussion that they never use
I think
the
it's
fields.
just kind of looking at the whole, the community as a whole and deciding
Everything.
what we're offering, what the county, are we providing the services we need to over there, or are we not? Some of the items that we're providing, I mean, we obviously know that there's issues over there with the library or whatever, but they let them look at this and give us a report on what we need to be addressing.
And I think
What do they have that they're complaining, but maybe in reality it's actually pretty good. It's just us knowing that and
I hadn't found
letting
it.
them pull it together from an omniscient and little larger group than what we are.
I can't speak for that board, but I would imagine that they would be fine with going over there and having a meeting in Nantahala as they've done in the past. And
I mean, it'd be coordinating with the library board. Obviously, that's an issue. It has been for years. Let's do something about it this year.
Okay. Y'all good with that?
I'm fine.
And then we'll move them on to the space needs analysis.
Any other communities we need to look at while we're looking at Nantahala? I mean, Nantahala is just a community, by the way. It's not.
I agree.
It's not a It's not a town, it's not.
Well, let's roll with that thought for just a second.
I'd like to.
What if we, Carl, what if we had them look at all the communities in general and see what all the communities have as far as infrastructure goes? So it's not just Nantahala, it's Otto, it's Smith. Do you see what I'm saying? I couldn't tell you as a commissioner. Maybe I should know, but I don't know. I couldn't tell you which all communities have a community building. Which ones might use a church versus having their own.
Might need a what?
Which one of our communities have community buildings? Which ones use a church? Which ones use a fire department? Just kind of looking, was there 11, 13 communities in our county?
15 precincts.
15.
Well, I think what's pushing Nantahala, it has a library, so.
Yeah. Well, I'm not disagreeing, but Commissioner Bill made a good point is, what if we broaden that just a little bit and let's look at some of the other communities too.
Start with Nantahala.
Start with Nantahala.
Does Otto need a library? I mean, we're going to do libraries. I mean, it's just it's a community. It's not a town like Highlands or Franklin.
I thought you told me we was going to build a library.
We tried to. I'd love to build a library over there, and I think that where the existing one is the exact place to build it. But if we're going to look at one community, I'm just saying if we're singling out one community, do we need to look at other communities, see what their needs might be?
I don't think you can look at them all in conjunction. I think you have to take them one at a time. Or it's just an exercise a few tips.
Some of them, I mean, some of our communities logistically can share, and it makes sense. Whereas Nantahala, it's
isolated.
It's isolated, yeah.
Their topography penalizes Nantahala.
That's right. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Anyway, thank you. All right. Item 11G, recreation discussion concerning the following items. Welcome, Seth. We'll start out with room rates for the Robert C. Carpenter Building.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Got some handouts here. They're not sticking together.
Thanks, sir.
Sir.
What you have in front of you is the existing room rates as they are today and have been for the last 17 years. I've been the director for a little over 16 years and there's not been a change in the room rates since I've been the director. I couldn't tell you when the last one was, to be honest with you. We have recently done a total renovation of the Robert C. Carpenter Community Building, and the Rec Commission said if we were ever looking at a possible increase, now would be the time to look at that. We still understand that it is the community building and we don't want to penalize folks. It's not going to be a big money maker. So if you look at the proposed rates, you'll see that there's actually very little change to the nonprofit, to the birthday parties, to the reunions, to that type of activity that goes on. People that'll be more affected are the for-profit. If you're using that building to basically make a buck. So I wanted to get kind of your feedback.
Seth, I think it'd be important for you to mention that, or I'll mention it for you. How about that? That the Recreation Committee has studied this hard for the past year?
Probably, yes, at least. Yeah. We've been looking at it.
So it's been vetted, and I think they came to a unanimous decision.
Yes, yeah, it was unanimous at the meeting this afternoon to bring these changes to you guys. And they would like to make them effective on our budget, our new budget year, July 1 of 19. We used to be on a 3-hour block time frame. That for some reason it doesn't always work for people. They either want 4 hours or 2 hours, or a little different than the 3. So this puts us on more of the by the hour rental with a minimum of 2. The 2 small rooms that we rent the most will be $10 an hour for nonprofits, which is very, very reasonable. You can't find a room anywhere close to us that rents for that. And for profit, $20 an hour. We basically just doubled the price for profit entities. The multi-use and the conference room we'll be asking $15 an hour and $30 for profit. All rooms will have a 2-hour minimum. The gym, half a day, $200 for a nonprofit, full day, $300 for a nonprofit, and $400 for a profit and $600 for the full day for a profit. We're also asking that every time that we have to put the protective floor covering down on the gym, it takes us about 3 hours to do. So we're going to charge a $150 fee to do that. It takes 4 guys about 3 hours to put it down and take it back up. We only do that for shows, so that'll be 6 or 7 times a year. Our show rates, it's been $500 a day for everybody across the board, whether you're Senior Games, Human Mineral Society, Chamber of Commerce, or a gun show, that's having it for profit. And we want to stick with the $500 a day for nonprofits, but go to $1,000 a day for the profit organizations that are actually making money on the show.
Is the $1,000 profit, is that for like your gun shows, your gym shows?
It won't be for the gym shows. Any nonprofit that's having a show out there to kind of finance what they do for the year, the Chamber of Commerce, we don't consider them a profit organization. The gun show, yes, we do consider them a profit organization because that's a private individual having a show for themselves.
Is that remember, I don't know, $1,000 for a gun show? Did you just destroy the gun show if you have to have I don't know.
I wouldn't think so. They're making they make money twofold at those gun shows. They rent the tables, and then plus the line's always out in the parking lot, for people paying to get in. So I don't think that will eliminate them from having guns. I'd still say that that's probably the cheapest rent they'll get anywhere else.
Can we get a motion to approve or suggested changes or leave as is? I mean, those are the 3 options.
Now, this came from your board?
Yes, the Rec Commission came up with these fees, and they supported 100%.
And you're the liaison, Mr. Tate, you support?
I do.
I have a question, if it's okay.
Sure.
Your first item, the party and meeting room, $10 an hour for nonprofit. Do you get both rooms for $10 total?
No, that's
the party room.
This is just saying the party room and the meeting, not both.
Right. Okay.
It's just a
same
piece.
thing on the multi-use and
Yes.
conference. Multi-use charges 15, conference charges.
Yes.
I just wanted to make
Sorry,
sure
I
there's
should have made
clarity
that a
there.
little more clear.
And you had game room on the other fee schedule. Did that?
The game room is now the conference room. If you remember, we made the nice conference room right there in the front.
All right. So
And
game is now conference.
and the party room did not exist. It was office space originally, but now
so
we
party
have
room's new.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
Let me ask you a question. I think I've done this to you, and I just didn't know this. Well, all of a sudden we can call you and say, we got some people coming in, we need to have a little room here, talk about some things. And I never left you any money. When it's over, I walk out the door.
Usually, if it's for a like a political party or something like that, there's no charge. We don't charge the school system whenever we kind of partner with them all the time. We use their gyms for our rec space. So if they need, or if another county entity needs to use our building, we don't charge for them either.
The reason for your proposed increases, what is the purpose of?
My main goal was to get off the 3-hour block period and just to charge by the hour. And if you look, you've got a whole lot better product now than you had before. number one, and number two, we've not adjusted anything in the past 15 plus years. So it's been the same. But like I said, for basically the 3-hour block, you're going up $5 for the normal folk, the normal citizen that will rent the community building for a birthday party or a reunion or just a meeting. That's pocket change, really.
Baby shower.
Crumbs?
Yes.
Crumbs?
Yeah.
I just wonder why you want to increase the fees, if it was to generate revenue or to...
Well, it will generate a little, but that's not the main reason. It just needed to be done.
And I like your first statement. It is a community building. It's owned by the taxpayers of Macon County, and the initial fee structure you had limited its use somewhat. I mean, and I was just wondering if the demand was so great that it justified the proposed fee increase, or if it was just,
well,
if you're going to raise the fee because we can raise the fee.
No, it does stay pretty busy though. If you've ever been down there, you're never in that building alone. There's something in there every day.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the proposed rates as recommended by the Recreation Committee.
Thank you, Commissioner Bill. Got a motion? Need a second?
Second.
Got a second by Commissioner Shields. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
So, while you're here, I had emailed the county manager in regards to the number of tournaments out at Parker Meadows, and you'd replied back to him with a list of those for last year. And looked like that facility receives limited use. And one of the reasons is one of your major organizations or users canceled tournaments because of lack of motel room.
Yes.
I'd like to talk to that person, and if you have any more information that you'd like to share with this whole board, I thought that would be information that everyone might find interesting.
Well, and that was last year, and this year, I don't have a tournament director that is over a sanctioned organization that'll come here. So right now I have 6 tournaments on the books from 20 last year. Last year, our USSSA guy, who had our biggest tournaments the first couple of years, he was pulling teams from North Georgia, all the way from Morganton. He started getting blowback from people having to go back to Jackson County and stay, or to even Waynesville. Some folks got here and wouldn't come back the next day because they couldn't find a room. They just showed up, automatically assumed. They didn't do their research ahead of time. I had a team mom hit me up when I was out there saying, at 4 o'clock that evening, where do I need to go stay tonight? and you're limited here.
This also ties back to conversation that Tommy and I had, and I wish Tommy was here. He was good at remembering numbers, but I think we picked, it's either 1970 or 1980, I don't remember which year we picked as a comparison. And there was more motel rooms available in Macon County in 1970 or 1980 than there is now. So
I think there was 200 beds in Franklin as we speak now. Now, on our website, we blew that up to get it to around 400, but you're still traveling down to Dillard, up to Highlands. Cherokee has called us basically asking when we have tournaments if we'll send people, over there. But if I'm going and I'm speaking as a travel ball coach and as a parent, I don't like to stay in another town if I'm coming to play. Everybody loves the facility. We run a top-notch tournament. We drag the fields in between every game. Everybody has no problems whatsoever with the tournament venue. It's just a matter of lodging. It's the biggest issue. And now we ran into Asheville just opened a multi-field complex that's got turf infields and everything else, but they've got the hotels to be able to book it. So we're going to step back and punt and start running more single-day regional tournaments, where people can come. They'll still eat in our restaurants. They'll still buy our gas. They'll still spend money here, but we may not get the lodging. But
they won't stay in our motel rooms.
But for the most part, the motels stay full anyway. I don't think that any of the motels here are going out of business, so to speak, because of lack of people staying in them.
I hear we got more coming.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris. All right, potential greenway connection under the town bridge?
Yes. A couple of months ago, David Culpepper of the town council came into my office and kind of threw something at me that he would like to see a joint effort with the county and the town to basically build the trail underneath the town bridges that will connect the greenway from side to side. We've got the new bridge has a very nice sidewalk that goes across the river, and now there are basically walking paths underneath both bridges where people don't have to cross the road. They go underneath. It's not safe, and it's kind of safe. I mean, it is just a worn out path through the grass. The town is willing to actually construct a trail just like the rest of the greenway. They'll do the grading, and all they're asking for us is to basically put a topper on it, whether that be gravel, or if we're willing to asphalt it, then they'll do the gravel up to the base level. It'll be a great thing for the county. It'll tie us, it makes the whole thing safer, and if you can see pictures.
So Seth, I think the two amounts were, I think for graveling, I'd suggested personally an amount of 5,000. And I think you've since come back with a paving estimate. If we pave instead, it would be?
If we pave, and that's not with any gravel, that's with the town doing all the gravel up to the level of paving, is 16,881 is the one estimate that I got. I didn't get multiples. I was curious to see what the cost would be.
Did you have discussion with DOT?
Everything is on par. DOT said that when they built the new bridge, they kind of designed
about getting them to pave it.
Well, I've not spoke with them about that
That's
yet.
what we need to do.
Okay.
Where exactly would this be in relation to where the bridges are?
It's on the bridge, on the new bridge.
Right here.
It's the red.
Okay.
This is for all quarters. You'll circle down that hill, and then under both bridges, and just tie back into the greenway on the other side.
One thing we do need to do, there's some,
Who'd you say?
The DOT.
some conservation easements, not conservation easements, but there's some easements for basically water watershed protection right in that area. We're gonna have to look at those and see if they would affect us, or if we could get the Clean Water Trust Fund to.
Everybody kind of is on board now. I met with Jack this morning, and Justin Setzer is kind of heading up that side of it, getting all the talking to the
I've got the
people.
maps of where those easements are, if that would be of help.
Okay.
All right. If it's okay, based upon what Commissioner Bill offered up there with that thought, I think I would like to see, since I'm going to be meeting with the town about this next Thursday, 2 Thursdays, that we're in somewhat of an agreement that this is okay project and that we will help fund it some way. We may not have to fund anything, but if we do, we'll.
Yeah, it's going to be a great addition to the Greenway. The Greenway is a great addition to our county right now.
So somewhere between 5,000 and 16,000.
And 16,000.
Somewhere in there, and we might not have to fund anything if the
DOT will pave it.
Okay.
That would be ideal.
Is that
New group
kosher?
with DOT.
Oh yeah.
Commissioner Shields, is that kosher?
I'd like to invite you to our next Frogs meeting.
Commissioner Bill. Good. Bless me.
Now, in speaking with that, the Frogs are in full support of this project. I've got a letter here from.
I'm with them. I agree with all of it too, but I'm trying to get an update, making sure they got the most updated information.
Okay.
It's on the third Tuesday. Next
Week from today.
Week from today.
19th.
4:30, Frogsville. And just, the only thing they would like to have just an update.
I will be there.
Seth, I'll meet you there.
Okay.
Good deal,
All
sir.
right, Seth. Item number 3, potential locations for dog park.
All right.
They want to talk about that too.
Okay. I am sure that you guys are aware that the county does have a dog park existing. It is. It is at Wesley's Playground. The site now, though, has proposed a problem with it being next to the wetlands with the Clearwater Trust Fund, and it sits under a transmission line for Duke Power. So both organizations have basically reached out to us, asking us to try to find an ulterior location for these or for this dog park, and trying to get things as cheap as I can. I obviously looked at county parcels first and looked around, and I'd overlooked this property, the Frogtown property, and Commissioner Tate had asked me, just go down there and walk around it. I'd heard that it used to be a movie theater, but since I've been here, it's just been grown up.
Precious memories.
Yes,
is what
yeah.
TMI.
Yeah. But in walking the property, it lays really, really well. And we have since cleaned it up so we can see what's down there a little bit better. We've kind of got rid of some of the brush and some of the straggly trees on the first part, but this is kind of a drawing of what can go down there. So I'm here tonight just asking if that is a possibility, if y'all are okay with us moving forward to kind of plan a dog park in that area. Like I said, this is just a conceptual drawing. Obviously, there need to be water and some kind of bathroom facility down there. The bathroom facility will not only benefit the county, but it also will benefit the town. People walk that stretch all the time. People walk town as much as they do the trail at Parker Meadows or the Greenway. So that will be a public restroom in that vicinity of town.
You got access to city water, city sewer.
Yes. We're hoping if the bridge partnership goes well, then the town will get on board with this also.
The Crawford Branch is pretty close to this.
It is, and the only thing, basically the green is just a proposed walking trail that'll use more of the property. There is floodway. If you look at the small dog side of that, there will be some fence that'll need to be placed in the floodway, but from my understanding, if we don't concrete the posts in and they are considered breakaway, then we've got the okay to do that. It won't interfere with, as long as we have an open mesh fence, which we're not planning on putting wind barrier or anything on it anyway.
The property lays great. It's very flat. There's a lot of great trees already in there for shade. That's something we don't have now. And it's sort of, in a way, it's unusable because it's either in the floodway or the floodplain.
Yeah.
So I think it makes sense.
How many cars do you think you could park? I see where you got it, where you cleaned out the brush. Was you gonna just come in off of Phillip Street and pull?
Yeah, pull straight off the street into a parking spot, and we can make that as big or as little as we need to. That'll be in the. Yeah, I would think
We're
so.
looking, just based upon the ones across the street, Commissioner Bill, it's looking like about 15 spaces based upon what he has.
That's what I
figured
counted,
here, but
too.
We have to make it a little wider to get that many.
Have we spoken to our neighbors?
Yes.
This triples the large dog size area and doubles the
more than doubles the small dog side
enclosure.
And that's we can make it as big or little as we want to. With what I have drawn, and you see how much of the property we've used. The whole parcel is 7.35 acres, and we're only going to use about 1.7 of it. So,
do you have a guesstimate of what one lap around that walking trail would be?
I do not. No.
projected cost, any thought put into that yet? Or-
If it's that size, the biggest expense will obviously be the fence, and the fencing is around $15,000.
In the bathroom.
The bathroom would be the biggest expense, but as far as for the dogs themselves, the fencing is the biggest portion. We need 2 little water fountains in there, about $2,000 a piece, to water them, and benches. You can get them anywhere from $300 to $1,000 a piece. So we'll need 3 or 4 of those down there.
Who's gonna approach the town about cost sharing or joint?
I'll handle that when I meet with them about the greenway stuff. And where we're going to talk with the town about cost sharing, Paul, is with sewer and water and taps with that, and then we'll probably provide. I'd like to see the county provide the fencing, the infrastructure, basically handle the project on county property, but we'll ask the town for help with providing the water and
How's
sewer.
that property
etc.
zoned?
That's gonna be in your,
I've already, we produced this to them, and they seem to be, weren't they in favor of it?
neighborhood mixed use,
Derek?
probably.
When we said they
It's an
were,
acceptable use
Yes.
as it's presently zoned.
I would think so. We did have a meeting with them, and Justin, the town zoning administrator, was in there. And, his
I'd
property.
double check it before you got too far down the road.
But if I'm not mistaken, I think it is neighborhood mixed use.
all right, is everybody in favor? I don't think we need to take a vote or anything, just to, let's proceed with taking this to the next step. And
Oh, yeah.
a little firmer design and some firmer costs.
If nothing else, it cleans up an eyesore in the middle of town. It'll make it where it looks nice
And
anyway.
we always talked about, above that, below that ain't much. I stopped by looking. We always talked about a farmer's market,
Yeah.
in the future above that, and that's tie in great, I think
Yeah.
that'd be.
And actually, the other side of Crawford Branch too, if you clear the kudzu off, there's another big flat area there.
Oh, yeah.
That's,
Go ahead. I got a question.
Well, go ahead. No. Well, it's gonna benefit town residents more than county residents.
it will.
I mean, so stress that point.
Yeah,
But town residents aren't county residents.
true.
The people who live within the city limits is what
Yeah.
I'm talking about.
But you'd be surprised too, how far people drive from out of city limits to that dog park.
Well,
just
we
to
found
let
that out with a phone call.
Yeah, I didn't realize until I started investigating and digging into dog parks. So I didn't have anything to do with the existing dog park now,
I
but
believe Viceville got one every 2 months.
I would say so.
That's amazing.
Let me ask you a question, since Mr. Leatherman's in here. A person talked to me about this today, and I think they were thinking it was humorous, that the new dog, or the old dog park sits under a transmission line. I'm not sure I didn't know how to respond to him, but that was one of the reasons the dog park was leaving. And I had a vision of flashes and.
Well, I don't think it's that. I think that they need to work on it, and if they need to get underneath it,
Okay.
we're in there right away.
Remember that.
Okay.
Thanks, Seth. And if you don't mind, follow up with Commissioner Bill on that paving.
Okay.
Thanks, sir.
You'll be getting the call.
All right, will do.
All right,
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Item 11H, audit services and contract.
Okay, I'll be back.
Will you take a packet and pass them down? Just a paper clip packet, please. Thank
Great
you.
way to spend an evening. Thank all y'all for your service to Macon County. You work very long with us. Thank you for your service. Thank you, sir.
I don't know that boy.
I'll make sure everybody's got one, and I'll start calling. This is passing them down.
Lord?
Okay, you ready?
No, I'm already grinning just looking at it. You know me. Thank you.
Okay, so December the 19th of 2018, I issued RFP for audit services for Macon County. We advertised this on our county website as well as in the Franklin Press. I directly solicited 6 firms based on their experience with auditing counties. The proposals were due to me by January 28th of 2019. I did receive 3 proposals. one from a firm, Thompson, Price, Scott, Adams and Company. They're out of Whiteville, North Carolina. I don't know if you're familiar with where that is, but that's
That's
out,
other side of the
out
state.
near the coast, kind of
Know
like the
exactly
totally
where that
opposite
is.
side of the state from us.
Right close to Wilmington.
Wilmington, yes. We received a proposal from Martin Starnes and Associates CPAs, our current firm, and we received a proposal from Gould Killian CPA Group out of Asheville, North Carolina. So when you evaluate the total cost, when you look at the cost to provide our audit and financial statements, as well as the cost to do the Medicaid and TANF agreed upon procedures, which is required by the state auditor. And then you take into account the airport authority's audit cost, because historically, the county's auditor is also the airport authority's auditor, and it makes sense because my department keeps the books for the airport authority. So when you look at the total combined cost, Thompson, Price, Scott, and Adams was $78,600, Martin Starnes $78,800, and Gould Killian was $85,350. So based on these numbers, I would recommend staying with Martin Starnes and Associates at the grand total cost of $78,800. And of course, though, the airport authority would have to award their own contract at their meeting. But also attached with your packet of information is the Martin Starnes engagement letter that goes along with the contract to audit. And that contract to audit accounts is prescribed by the North Carolina Department of State Treasurer, State and Local Government Finance Division. So all cities, towns, counties in the state of North Carolina must follow this audit contract. So, like I said, my recommendation is staying with Martin Starnes and asking you tonight to approve this audit contract in the amount of $65,800. And then those agreed upon procedures will be a separate engagement letter. And then, like I said previously, the airport authority would have to approve their own audit contract.
Motion to approve the finance director's recommendation, Mr. Chairman.
We've got a motion and a second. Just a quick question, Lori. I can't help myself. I understand that there is a comfort level, especially from your department. He works so closely with Martin and Starnes, and you have been for years, and there's a comfort level of working with them.
Right.
Have a great relationship. I completely respect that. From an omniscient point of view, it seems like it would be wise to switch that audit firm every so often so that you have a different company, a different set of eyes overlooking your financial records. I'm asking you, I'm not an accountant by any means, I'm asking you, I understand your professional opinion is that you want to use Martin Starnes, but
Right.
do you understand where I'm coming from?
I
Do you
do.
think it would be wise to use someone else? I mean,
No.
it's for $200 difference, I understand.
Yeah. Well, and
Explain
I-
the chairman, as you start, Lord, how they switch out people.
yeah,
They
that's what
gotta
I
switch
was about to
people. You may
say.
have the same firm, but you can't have the same people.
That's a comforting
Yes,
factor.
every few years, they rotate out the audit partner that's involved and the audit manager.
Okay.
So since I've been here, I've had 3 different I've been here 7 years, I think, or almost 8. I've had, I think, 3 different audit partners and 3 audit managers. So they rotate out the staff. And I wish I had brought an article. Stephen Gauthier, he's with the GFOA, which is the Government Finance Officers Association for the United States and Canada. And he has actually written articles about, is it really necessary to gain that independence or a fair look to change audit firms? And in his professional opinion, he says no, because of those things I just mentioned. You rotate your audit managers, you rotate your audit partners that you're working with. And so that gives you, because of course you want to, make sure that you're working with a firm that has, especially in our case being a county, dealing with Medicaid, and then all these new things that the state auditor keeps rolling out and putting on auditors, to have someone that is well-versed and fairly local. That worries me a little bit with that firm being in Whiteville.
If you had a chance to read this audit that Martin Starnes just did, the banking business even, they recognize that. And for a while they had that law that said you had to change firms. Now they rotate people out.
Yeah.
So it's a no-brainer.
All right. Any further discussion? Go ahead, Carl.
First off, thank you for putting that out to bid this year. I can't remember, what was the audit, what did the audit cost last year?
60.
What we expecting a substantial increase this year
69
or
something.
something?
We got a substantial increase in 18 because of those new regulations.
changes, yeah.
Yes, we did.
Okay.
I
And
don't
you'll
have-
see a big in 2020 when Medicaid transformation takes place.
Oh, don't tell me that, Ronnie.
You will.
Thank you.
It's coming.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, we have the consent agenda. I'll be happy to remove anything, and there was the addition of the minutes from the February 7th, 2019 meeting, which were on our desk. We'll be happy to take a motion to approve these, or we'll be happy to pull any item out and then discuss it.
Motion to approve the consent agenda, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we've got a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a second by Commissioner Shields. All in favor? Aye. All right, appointments, reappointment of Mr. Gary Schmidt to the Macon County Airport Authority. And the motion, Carl?
So moved.
Got a motion from Carl.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bill. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have some TDC appointments.
Yes. Those will be for Connie Gruberman, Patrick Graham, and Katie LaFlamme. Each of them currently serve on the TDC and their terms have expired.
We'll
TDC
put on
has
for,
indicated.
another 3 years, looks like, and this will be there.
I make a recommendation to be approved.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Shields. A second by
Second, yeah.
Commissioner Bill. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, equalization and review, that was on our desk. Dwight Benson, Bill Martin, Donald Holland, Gary Drake, Christine Flagg. We get a motion to approve
Motion approved.
by Commissioner Shields. We get a second by Commissioner Higdon. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, item D, we have an ETJ appointment. That would be
Janet Green.
Janet Green.
And it was,
Motion to be approved.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Shields, second by Commissioner Bill. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. We need a motion to go into closed session for the purpose of,
Preserving the attorney-client privilege.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
motion by Commissioner Bill, second by Commissioner Shields. All in favor?
Aye.
Are we expecting action for the media?
Possible.
Possibly.
Okay.
On a reporter salary, if you can retire 65, I want to see it.
All right, call our meeting back to order.
I'm ready to go. You?
I'm ready to go to bed.
Go to bed. Gunsmoke don't even second Gunsmoke don't come on the ground.
All right, we are going to be taking some action, and we'll let our county attorney explain, or I'll stub my toe.
You wanna go to Pinehurst? You can play golf any golf course you want to play.
I gotta work.
Huh?
Gotta work. Have you seen my? Go ahead.
The redistrict is ready for the area,
Really?
and the 15 of us.
That'll be a
Big deal. That's a big deal.
All right, let's wait on our county manager.
I ain't got nothing ready.
Mr. Manager? Chester, do we need him?
Yeah. Derek,
He should be in here, yes.
many young as you got need to be at home. Come on.
Let's discuss.
He's probably feeling
There he is.
pockets there from Coco.
Trying to get some food and drinks to take home.
All right, Chester.
Gentlemen, if you'll remember, last year, we settled a Fair Labor Standards Act claim that had been made by one of our deputies who was a canine handler for the Sheriff's Department. As you'll recall, it was learned during the process of dealing with that claim that the canine handlers that Macon County has basically care for their dogs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and as we learned, they were to be paid for the time that they cared for and fed their dogs outside of their normal work hours. The canine handler deputy had not been paid for that time, and he had in fact cared for and fed his dog outside the normal work week. And so as a result, the county was able to work out an amicable settlement of that claim. Now, in the process of doing that, the county, as well as the sheriff, both recognized that the county and the sheriff had 3 other canine handlers in Macon County, and they were similarly situated as far as this Fair Labor Standards Act issue was concerned to the deputy who had made and settled that claim. And I think both the sheriff and the Board of Commissioners wanted to look at that situation and, in fairness, treat them the same way. So the sheriff and the Board of Commissioners basically were trying to do the right thing with these other 3 deputies and to make appropriate pay adjustments for them as well. I want to report to you that the sheriff and the county have worked with these other deputies who were similarly situated and have worked out general releases of claims with each of them, those 3 individuals being Clay Bryson, David Blanton, and Steve Stewart. I've had the occasion to advise you of the terms of those general releases, and it is my understanding that you desire to approve them for execution. For the basic terms for settlement, the agreement with Mr. David Blanton would provide for him to be paid back salary of $26,724.83, and with FICA, retirement, and 401k, the total cost to the county of that settlement will be $32,377.13. For Clay Bryson, back salary of $30,837.10, and with FICA, retirement, and 401k, total cost to the county would be $37,359.15. For Steve Stewart, back salary $32,987.07, and with FICA, retirement, 401k, the total cost to the county would be $38,753.21. So you total those together, the county is essentially going to be having a cost to resolve these claims for $108,490. I want to report to the commissioners as well as to the public that these individuals did not come to the county asking for payment, but instead the sheriff and these commissioners felt it was the right thing to do to approach them and treat them equally. They have very graciously and amicably sat down with the sheriff and resolved these claims in accordance with what has been discussed. And if the board is inclined to approve these general releases, which I've discussed with you and which I have here, the commissioners would need to do a budget amendment in the amount of $108,490 and appropriate that from the general fund balance.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion as liaison to the Sheriff's Department that we reward these 3 employees, one who's no longer with the Sheriff's Department, but 2 who are, and thank them as part of this motion for how they've conducted themselves during this oversight. It will not be forgotten, and we appreciate it very much, as does the sheriff. And we thank you very much. So I'll make a motion that we appropriate $108,490 from the fund balance with the appropriate budget amendment to adhere to the Fair Labor Act as outlined, and again, with our thanks to these deputies.
And to approve the execution of the general releases.
And to approve the execution of the general releases.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bill, a second by Commissioner Shields. Any discussion? I'd just like to state, following on Commissioner Bill's heels there, is that, I'll just make it real quick. What's right is right, and that's the correct thing. That's the correct and the fair thing to do. So with that being said, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Motion to adjourn.
Got a motion to adjourn by Commissioner Bill, second by Commissioner Shields. All in favor?
Aye.
Everybody travel safe.
See you.
Thank you all.
Chester, am I signing for the county on this, I presume, or is Derek?